Marvel. Starting with the Super Soldier Serum. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Serial Crossing. Qin Xiao sat up from the bed in cold sweat. Where is this? Looking at everything around him that he was completely unfamiliar with. Wasn't he at home watching a movie and sleeping at the same time? Qin Xiao had a bad habit of watching a movie with his phone in his arms and falling asleep at night. It's okay to watch a movie and fall asleep, but he was afraid that his phone would run out of power, so he plugged in the charger to watch the movie. I don't know if it was too hot in the summer, or if there was a problem with the heat dissipation of his phone. When Qin Xiao was dazed, his phone exploded. Yes, the phone exploded. So what happened to me? Traveled through time? Qin Xiao was racking his brains to figure out what happened. A lot of memories rushed out of Qin Xiao's mind frantically. After a while, Qin Xiao figured out his current situation. Traveling through time is certain, a parallel world similar to the Earth. This person has the same name as himself, but his fate is more tragic. His parents died accidentally, and his family property was cheated by relatives. He finally mustered up the courage to go all out and mortgaged his house to start a business with a friend. He was cheated by his friend and girlfriend. Not only did he lose all his money, but he was also in debt. Then, Qin Xiao glanced at the pesticide on the bedside table, which is commonly known as paraquat. The small and shabby rental house was converted from a garage on the first floor. It was damp and hot. He had a debt of more than 3 million yuan, and all his property was only more than 500 yuan. He was betrayed by his best friend and his bedmate. How unlucky this is. Not to mention the real loner, even Qin Xiao, who traveled through time, has the urge to die. What a weird start. Otherwise, try to see if he can travel through time after dying again. Qin Xiao glanced at the paraquat on the bedside table. Forget it. It's better to live than to die. If he dies, it will be a big loss. He just owes money. He will slowly figure it out. This body is only 23 years old now, and he still has a long life. Qin Xiao comforted himself. Just as he was thinking about what to do next, suddenly, a voice sounded in his mind. Found the entrance to the world. The system is binding. There's a surprise? Qin Xiao was alert, sat up and lit a cigarette. After about 20 seconds, a beeping sound rang in his mind. Binding is successful. The system has been activated. Host Qin Xiao, a world entrance is currently found. Do you want to cross over immediately? Wait, don't cross over right away. First tell me what functions you have, and what does the world entrance mean? Qin Xiao said hurriedly in his mind. This system can provide the host with a crossing service. The host completes the task and gets points, which can be exchanged for various items in the system mall. Open the mall and let me see what can be exchanged. The host does not have enough authority. Wait until the host completes the task and gets points to open the mall. The system's voice was lifeless. At least let me know what is there. Skills, gene enhancement, money, etc. Please open the mall as soon as possible for the details. Although the system did not explain it in detail, Qin Xiao understood that his golden finger was here. Then what about the world entrance? What does it mean? Qin Xiao changed the question. You need coordinates to travel through other worlds. I have found that the host has residual world coordinates. The system was very considerate this time. Not only did it answer the question, it also gave Qin Xiao a picture in his mind. It was a picture that Qin Xiao was very familiar with. A huge and heavy steel armor was raising its right arm at the entrance of a cave. It was spraying flames outside. It was surrounded by an endless desert. Iron Man. Qin Xiao reacted, as if he was watching this movie before his phone exploded. The entrance to the world is the world of Iron Man, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That is a world full of superheroes. What tasks can I complete if I go in with my body? System, this world is a bit dangerous. Can you give me some benefits before going in? Otherwise, I am afraid I can't complete the task. Qin Xiao bargained in his mind. There is a reward for every effort. The host will understand this principle. Besides, in the current situation of the host, what else is there to lose? Fuck you. Qin Xiao was stunned to hear a sense of contempt from the system's voice without any fluctuations in tone. But the system was right. Just look at the ghostly appearance he is in now. What is there to be afraid of? It's not easy to travel through time. And there's a system. How can I not seize this opportunity? Let's do it. Travel through time. Right now. Qin Xiao had no reason to hesitate. This place is a mess. If there is no system, he can only carry the debt and find a job to support himself. Then he can slowly think about paying back the money, not to mention seeking justice for the dead Qin Xiao. Congratulations to the host. You are brave. Please inform me before traveling through time. The real time will stop during the travel. The host can travel through time without worry. After completing the specified tasks, you can choose to return to this world. This travel is about to begin. 3.2.1. As the system counted down, Qin Xiao's eyes went dark and he lost consciousness as soon as he finished speaking. When he opened his eyes again, he was already on a shabby street. There were not many people around, and the ground was full of garbage and fallen leaves. The two-story buildings looked very shabby. Obviously, this is a very poor community. System, tell me where this is? Qin Xiao asked in his mind. The identity has been loaded, and the relevant memories have been generated. Please read them by yourself. The memory given by the system is very strange. Compared with the memory of the dead ghost Qin Xiao, it is completely integrated into Qin Xiao's mind. The memory of the identity in this world is like a book, which Qin Xiao needs to flip through before he can understand it. There is no feeling of personal experience. Qin Xiao, 22 years old, graduated from the University of California, Los Angeles. He has excellent grades in school and won a scholarship from Stark Industries. This gave him the opportunity to intern in Stark Industries. It seems that the system is not bad. At least it gave an identity that is closer to the protagonist. Although it is very unrealistic for an intern to meet Tony Stark, at least there is a little chance. After mumbling a few words, Qin Xiao continued to flip through the memory. The next thing is very interesting. When Qin Xiao was 13 years old, a black man's house next door was broken into by a large number of Hydra terrorists, and the battle affected their home. His parents died in that battle. I don't know if it was out of guilt. The black man has been sponsoring Qin Xiao's studies and life. They have maintained a good contact over the years. This time, Qin Xiao came to Baltimore, the capital of Maryland, to find the black man. He told him the good news that he had obtained an internship opportunity at Stark. The black man was Isaiah, the first-generation super soldier before Steve Rogers. A little science. Isaiah, the first-generation super soldier, appeared in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He joined the army during World War II and was transformed. Later, he failed in his mission and was imprisoned in a cell and subjected to human experiments by the government for 30 years. After being released, he was often hunted by Hydra. Among them was the Winter Soldier. Chapter 2, Isaiah, the first super soldier. Qin Xiao didn't understand why the system gave him such an identity. He didn't know why he was thrown here. When he asked the system also said that the host should explore on his own. But judging from the current identity and experience, the system is not doing useless work. In order to better integrate into this role, Qin Xiao kept flipping through the memories related to Isaiah along the way. After walking about a street, Qin Xiao came to an old house. After hesitating for a while, he reached out and rang the doorbell. Who? A black-skinned old man with a lot of gray hair and beard came out, but from his appearance, he definitely couldn't tell that the old man was 88 years old. He looked at most in his 60s. By the way, Qin Xiao came in 2008, before Tony Stark was kidnapped. Oh, Qin Xiao, my child, are you okay? After seeing Qin Xiao, Isaiah opened the door enthusiastically and gave Qin Xiao a hug. Qin Xiao hesitated for a moment, but still put his hand on Isaiah's back and hugged the old man. What's wrong with you, child? What happened? Isaiah felt that Qin Xiao was a little strange and asked in confusion. Oh, nothing. I just feel that you have been like this since childhood, and now I have graduated from college. You have not changed at all. I feel a little emotional. Qin Xiao answered cleverly. You know, my aging speed is slower than that of ordinary people, and my body is stronger than that of ordinary people. So, Isaiah spread his hands and said helplessly, the ability brought to him by the super serum only hurts him. 30 years of being experimented on by others without seeing the sun tormented him all the time. Come on. Come in. Don't talk about those unhappy things. Isaiah pulled Qin Xiao into the house. In the plot arranged by the system, Qin Xiao saw Isaiah's Superman side when he was a child. For a long time after Qin Xiao's parents died, he lived with Isaiah, and there were no secrets between them. Later, Isaiah was afraid that the Hydra people would come again, so for Qin Xiao's safety, he sent him to a social welfare home. He just secretly gave Qin Xiao some financial support. Didn't you say you were going to find a job in Los Angeles? Why did you suddenly come all the way to the east to see me? It can be seen that Isaiah was very happy to see Qin Xiao, but he did not approve of Qin Xiao's sudden visit to him, because of safety issues. I got the opportunity to intern at Stark Industries, and I thought I should tell you. Qin Xiao tried to make his expression look a little prouder. Oh, God, Stark Industries, this is great. I knew you could do it. We have to go out and buy something, and have a good drink tonight. Isaiah stood up and said happily. Bang! The two of them were originally sitting face to face. As soon as Qin Xiao finished speaking, Isaiah suddenly stood up and walked 2 steps to the side. At this time, a gunshot rang out, and a bullet went through the window and whizzed past Isaiah's head just now. It went straight through Qin Xiao's chest and abdomen from top to bottom. Qin Xiao was not prepared at all, and only felt a numbness in his chest, and then blood slowly began to spread along the fibers of his clothes. Fuck, so unlucky, Qin Xiao muttered, tilted his head and fainted. In the darkness, Qin Xiao felt that all the cells in his body began to boil. It was itchy, the kind of itchy that went deep into his bones, as if thousands of ants were constantly crawling around in his body. Then came the pain, as if his whole body was crushed into flesh by a huge hydraulic press, and Qin Xiao's own consciousness seemed to be trapped in endless darkness, feeling the 2 extreme pains of pain and itching, but there was no carrier to struggle. I don't know how long it took. Qin Xiao slowly opened his eyes again. The first thing that came into view was Isaiah's red-eyed face. You finally woke up, kid. God bless you. Damn it. I said you shouldn't come back to see me. Isaiah's face was full of surprise, guilt and self-blame. What happened? I was shot? Qin Xiao struggled to sit up with his upper body. This was a dim room, more like a basement. There was a heart rate checker on the bedside table, and a tray on it. Inside were a scalpel, tweezers, and some bloody gauze and cotton. There was also a bullet head with blood on it. It seems that I'm fine now. Qin Xiao used both hands to try to sit up completely. Strangely, there was no pain in his body as expected. Huh? Qin Xiao looked at himself and found that the wound had healed and scabbed. There was no pain at the wound, but a slight itching. This was the state that the wound was close to being completely healed. How long have I been unconscious? Qin Xiao asked in surprise. Less than 3 hours. Isaiah raised his hand and looked at his watch and said, What about my wound? Qin Xiao pointed at his chest and asked, You lost too much blood. After I dealt with the killer, I didn't have time to send you to the hospital. I could only take the risk to save you myself. Fortunately, I prepared some common medical equipment. As for your wound, I said, there was no time to go to the hospital. I remember that you and I have the same blood type. I know this is very dangerous. Fortunately, you did it and successfully survived the transformation of the serum, Isaiah said with some guilt. Qin Xiao was delighted. Doesn't that mean that he was injected with super serum in disguise? There were some waves in his heart, and the strength in his hands was inevitably unbalanced. He exerted a little force. Qin Xiao found that the metal guardrail next to the simple hospital bed was actually crushed by him accidentally. I became a super soldier? Qin Xiao looked at his hands in disbelief and said, I didn't prepare anything. I got shot and woke up to become a man like Captain America. I'll go get you a glass of water. Compared with Qin Xiao's excitement, Isaiah just sighed and silently got up to get water. System? What's going on? Don't say that all this has nothing to do with you. Qin Xiao called the system in his mind. Newbie gift package. This world is so dangerous. This system will always give the host a little capital to survive. Isn't it a surprise? And Qin Xiao almost vomited blood. Super soldiers are good, but can you tell me in advance? And, do you have to use this method? Qin Xiao directly said what he meant and questioned the system. This is to allow the host to perfectly integrate into this world, and to better explain the origin of the ability. I hope the host will understand my good intentions and not be reckless. Fuck you. Come out if you have the guts, and see if I can chop you to death. Chapter 3, Alternative Ways to Obtain Super Serum. A super soldier directly transfused blood to an ordinary person and successfully gave birth to another super soldier. Qin Xiao actually thought this was nonsense. But this is the Marvel world. If a spider bites you, you can transform. What's more, you have a system. Anyway, no matter what, you finally have a little ability to protect yourself. Right? Qin Xiao just tried it casually on the road and easily lifted a pickup truck with one hand, although he only lifted one side due to the angle. From his own feeling, the weight of a car seemed to be nothing for Qin Xiao. After this happened, Isaiah felt very guilty. After telling Qin Xiao not to show his ability casually and confirming that Qin Xiao's injury was not serious, the poor old man drove Qin Xiao out of his secret basement with red eyes. Qin Xiao knew that once he left, the old man would probably move away and would not let himself find it easily in the future. Although the relationship between the two was modified by the system, the old man's affection for him would not be fake. He would find a chance to make up for it later. Anyway, according to the plot, Isaiah is still alive and well after the end of Avengers 4. Now take care of yourself first, because the system has issued the first task. Approach Tony Stark and successfully attract his attention, so that he can remember your name, so as to facilitate the subsequent tasks. P.S. Although the host is equipped with the system, it is still necessary to hug the thighs of the local tyrants when you first arrive. In fact, the task is quite difficult. Who is Tony Stark? He is a genius scientist, CEO of Stark Industries, and the richest man in the United States and even the world. Especially with his current personality, it is extremely difficult for ordinary people to get along with him. I can't get close to him with the power obtained from Isaiah's blood. Let's not talk about whether he will call the police. Just look at Isaiah's past experience. Qin Xiao doesn't want the government or the military to conduct human experiments on him. I will think of a way slowly, but in 2 days it will be the day to report to Stark Industries. Qin Xiao bought a plane ticket and flew across the United States from the East Coast to Los Angeles. Stark Industries is very large, and they have office buildings in New York and Los Angeles. The place where Qin Xiao did his internship this time was the headquarters of Stark Industries in Los Angeles. The internship position was a laboratory assistant. The so-called laboratory assistant is actually a younger brother or a handyman. He helped people in Stark Industries, copying documents, serving tea and water. In this way, Qin Xiao became a 9-to-5 office worker in the Marvel movie world. He shuttled between Stark Industries and his small apartment every day. Fortunately, Stark Industries paid well and the work in the laboratory was easy enough. Life was pretty good, but the mission was still a long way off. After working for more than 2 months, let alone getting close to Tony Stark, Qin Xiao didn't even see him once, but the villain in Iron Man, the big bald man named Obadiah, came to the laboratory several times, but Qin Xiao only saw him from a distance. This is not a solution. When can the mission be completed? You know, it's April 2008 now. Who knows when Tony Stark will go to Afghanistan? When he becomes Iron Man, it will be even more difficult to get close to him. Qin Xiao was in the tea room, holding a cup of coffee and daydreaming. A middle-aged man in a white coat and a Mediterranean hairstyle came into the tea room with a cup. Qin, why do you look so depressed? Did your girlfriend dump you or did you run into some trouble? Come and tell me. You know, people of my age can always give young people some good advice. Oh, Dr. Rex, thank you for your kindness. I just feel that this job is a little different from what I imagined. Qin Xiao certainly couldn't tell him his true thoughts, so he said casually, "Oh, young man, don't be so pessimistic. Every newcomer here always starts as an assistant. You should calm down. I remember you have been here for almost 3 months, right? Then congratulations, your internship is about to end." Looking around and seeing that there were no people around, Dr. Rex whispered to Qin Xiao mysteriously, "I heard that when the interns are converted to full-time employees this time, the big boss will come down to interview them in person and assign them suitable positions. This is a rare opportunity, so you must cheer up, young man." "Big boss?" Qin Xiao asked in doubt. "Tony Stark, my God, what is the name of our company?" "Stark Industries. Who else could it be?" "I gave you an A grade. Be prepared." According to the tradition of Stark Industries, Every time someone enters the company, they have to go to different departments for internships for 3 months, and then be recommended and scored by the department heads, and then interviewed and assessed by the Human Resources Department, and then their jobs are reassigned. The director of the laboratory where Qin Xiao was interning is Dr. Rex in front of him. The information he revealed is very important to Qin Xiao. If it is confirmed that the person who will come for the interview is Tony Stark, then Qin Xiao needs to think carefully about how to attract Tony Stark's attention. The 3-month deadline soon arrived, and Qin Xiao came to the laboratory early this morning. However, he was notified that he did not need to work in the laboratory today, and went directly to the top floor for an interview. Qin Xiao was delighted. He had been in Stark Industries for a few months, and he knew it. The top floor is Tony Stark's personal area. There is not only a small laboratory and office on it, but also rooms with various fitness and entertainment functions. Except for Obadiah, Pepper and a few others in the entire company, no one else has the right to go up there. Let me go to the top floor for an interview. It seems that Tony Stark is really here today. Qin Xiao went up to the top floor with great interest. First, he was taken to a small conference room. Tony Stark's exclusive bodyguard, Happy, came out first and did a security check on everyone. Then he arranged the order for more than 10 interns. Unfortunately, Qin Xiao was the last one. After sitting in the conference room for about 10 minutes, I saw Pepper holding a folder and calling people's names one by one. It may be because of the difference in aesthetics. Although Pepper looks younger than in the movie, but it doesn't quite fit Qin Xiao's aesthetics. The female characters in Marvel movies, Qin Xiao still likes the Black Widow and Scarlet Witch in the early stage. Well, then it seems that I have the opportunity to meet them both. Qin Xiao began to get a little excited for some reason. Tony Stark's interview speed was very fast. Almost one person every 3 to 5 minutes. Soon, people in the conference room went out one after another, until the end. Pepper opened the door and called Qin Xiao's name. Qin. After reading Qin Xiao's name with some doubt, little Pepper looked at Qin Xiao and said with a smile, "You can come with me. Mr. Stark is waiting for you." Chapter 4. Tony Stark. There was a ring in the interview room. It seemed that this was where Tony Stark usually worked out. It looked very familiar. Qin Xiao looked at it for a long time and remembered that this seemed to be the place where Tony Stark interviewed Black Widow in Iron Man 2. This was in line with Tony Stark's personality. Sitting in the office with a stern face was not his style. "Korean?" Tony Stark asked as soon as Qin Xiao came in. "Me? I'm Chinese." Qin Xiao pointed at himself and said, "Yes." Tony Stark clenched his fist and made a victory gesture. Happy next to him took out a $10 bill with a dark face and put it on the table. These two guys were actually betting on themselves. Qin Xiao walked up to Tony Stark with a complaint in his heart. "To be honest, I don't really like facing others. I'm not targeting you. I don't really like facing strangers, especially men. If I hadn't promised everyone at the board meeting this year, I wouldn't have come here to read your internship reports. So let's hurry up now. First of all, congratulations, Mr. Qin. Your internship report is quite outstanding. The supervisor of your laboratory gave you an A-level evaluation, saying that you can really help everyone in the laboratory. So now there is only one question left. Do you want to continue to stay in the laboratory or go to the legal department to do legal work that you are better at?" Qin Xiao's information showed that he graduated from the law department, so Tony Stark asked this. To be honest, I don't care. It depends on how you arrange it. And, Mr. Stark, I'm not good at law." Qin Xiao spread his hands and said, "Oh?" Tony Stark looked down at Qin Xiao's information and said jokingly after making sure that he was not mistaken, "Is it Chinese Kung Fu?" "I do know a little bit of Chinese Kung Fu, although I'm not very strong. For example, the burly bodyguard next to you, I can only deal with, about 10, but this is not me." Wait, I have to interrupt you. You just said you can deal with 10, me?" Happy on the side couldn't listen anymore and interrupted Qin Xiao directly. "Sorry, boss, I have to interrupt you. This is about my dignity." Happy has been with Tony Stark for more than 10 years and is one of the people he trusts the most, so he speaks more naturally. But the two of them made such a fuss, Tony Stark became quite interested. He ignored Happy's words and said to Qin Xiao with interest, "You haven't answered his question yet. Are you sure you can deal with 10 of him? Qin Xiao's confidence was admired by him, but Tony Stark would never believe that one person could beat 10. But young people, it's normal to talk exaggeratedly, but Qin Xiao nodded very seriously. About 12 at most. After all, he looks quite big and needs to expend some energy. Qin Xiao's current physical condition means that even 100 ordinary people like Happy can be knocked down with one punch. But it doesn't matter, as long as he has attracted Tony Stark's attention, he can complete the task. But Happy is obviously a little angry. As Tony Stark's personal bodyguard, it's okay to be questioned about his fighting ability, not to mention that the other party looks so weak. Boy, I don't know if your Chinese kung fu is as good as you boast, but I can give you a chance to take back your words, otherwise. Happy stepped forward and clenched his fist towards Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao smiled slightly and ignored Happy directly, but came directly to a sandbag. He twisted his waist, inhaled, stepped forward, and punched the sandbag hard. Bang! The sandbag was directly broken by a punch. Oh, my God! Oh, my God! Tony Stark and Pepper were surprised at the same time. I'm not very good at fighting with others in the kung fu I learned. I'm not very good at controlling the power. Are you sure you want to continue now? Let me make it clear first. I don't have money to pay for the medical expenses. After Qin Xiao finished speaking, he could clearly see Happy's Adam's apple rolling and swallowing a large mouthful of saliva. Okay, come back, Happy. His punch is more powerful than the world boxing champion. You don't have to worry that I will fire you for this. Tony Stark stood up, came to Happy and patted his shoulder to smooth things over. Then he asked Qin Xiao, how did you do that? I mean that just now. It was obviously beyond some. I mean that looks very unscientific. Do you understand what I mean? Tony Stark was obviously a little interested. Qin Xiao finally breathed a sigh of relief, because the system prompt had sounded. Congratulations, host. Your action just now has left a deep impression on Tony Stark. He will remember your name. The mission is successfully completed. You will be awarded 500 points. It is detected that the host has obtained points. The system mall is open. Qin Xiao finally completed the mission and breathed a sigh of relief, but he did not bother to check what was in the mall. Instead, he smiled and said to Tony Stark, it is just a skill that bursts out instantly. It requires years of practice. Years of practice? Tony Stark muttered in a low voice. If I learned this fighting skill from you, can I reach your level? As he spoke, he gestured a punch to burst a sandbag. I'm sorry, Mr. Stark, with all due respect, these skills require boring and painful practice day after day. I don't think you can do it. Qin Xiao shrugged his shoulders. Tony Stark was really interested. Qin Xiao really had no way to deal with it. He had no skills. He became like this after being randomly transfused by Isaiah. Without the system, it is unknown whether he can survive the mutation. But in the eyes of Tony Stark, this performance became a kind of contempt. You doubt me? You think I can't do it? Tony Stark said a little bit competitively. He was just asking out of curiosity, although he is selfish, arrogant, and self-righteous. But he is definitely not the kind of person who has no self-awareness. He knows very well where his strengths are. But for some reason, Qin Xiao's words made him feel a rare feeling of dissatisfaction. Just like when he was a child, his father always praised Captain America Steve Rogers in front of him, and then criticized him for being useless. Chapter 5, Bar Encounter. Pepper, do you think I can learn his kung fu? Tony Stark turned his head and looked at Pepper and asked. Pepper looked embarrassed. Tony, you are assigning jobs to those who have passed the internship today. I think we should finish our work first and then discuss the issue of learning kung fu. No, I have found a good job for Mr. Qin, my personal fighting coach. You are responsible for making an appointment with him and discussing the salary issue, Tony Stark said with a firm face. I need to go back to my laboratory now. I still have a set of missile data to process. You arrange the time. Pepper, goodbye, Mr. Coach. Tony Stark definitely did not ask Qin Xiao for his consent. He picked up his coat and stood up and left on his own. This is really very Iron Man. Even if Qin Xiao's favorite Marvel movie in his previous life is Iron Man, there is still an urge to punch him in the face. You teach me if you want to. Have you asked me? But in order to get closer to the character, Qin Xiao still smiled self-deprecatingly and said nothing. Pepper stepped forward and said with understanding, "Sorry, Tony has always been like this. I hope you don't mind." Qin Xiao shrugged indifferently. "It doesn't matter. At least I know that he won't let me down in terms of salary, right?" Pepper also smiled. "As you wish. I will definitely not be disappointed." Primary super serum, the kind injected by Captain America, which initially breaks through the limits of the human body, changes the gene sequence, greatly increases the strength, speed and metabolic rate, and has a certain effect of delaying aging. 1000 points. Money, real world, 1 million/1 point, which can be directly transferred to the host's bank card after redemption. Safe and has no future troubles. Primary fighting skills, the level of the world's top special forces fighters, a mixture of various fighting techniques, fast, accurate and ruthless, and emphasizes one-hit kill. 200 points. Primary weapon proficiency, able to skillfully use most cold weapons, and initially and completely master the skills of using each weapon. 200 points. E-level combat suits can be disguised as any daily clothing, can resist any known ammunition firearms, except special ammunition, such as vibranium, rumetal, etc., and have a certain damage reduction for small hot weapons. In addition to bulletproof, they can also resist damage from cold weapons made of general materials. 300 points. E-level cold weapon customization. A suitable weapon can greatly increase your combat effectiveness, especially when facing some opponents with super strong defense. For E-level power, you can refer to E-level combat suits. 300 points. Qin Xiao thought that the system would open everything directly after opening the mall, but it turned out to be just a first-level mall. With just a first-level mall, Qin Xiao felt that the 500 points in his hand were not enough. It's just that Qin Xiao already has the effect of the primary super serum, so he saved the most expensive one. After thinking for a long time, Qin Xiao still chose primary combat and E-level combat suits. First, because 500 points are just right. Second, it's also because he can use primary combat now, and it is also the most effective choice to increase his combat effectiveness. As for the combat uniform, one island because the points are just right, and the other is because it is still necessary to defend against hot weapons in the early stage. And according to the plot, whether it is to face Ironmonger in the end or to go to Afghanistan to fight, with this combat uniform, Qin Xiao has fewer worries. At least he is not yet invulnerable. The second-level mall needs to accumulate 5,000 points to be fully opened. Qin Xiao can only change these two to improve himself first. The system has not given any tasks for the time being, but Pepper has offered Qin Xiao a weekly salary of $100,000. This makes Qin Xiao's life in this world a lot more comfortable. However, since the last meeting, Tony Stark seems to have plunged into the laboratory. He didn't even ask Qin Xiao to go to class with him, which made Qin Xiao temporarily idle. In desperation, Qin Xiao had to go to the bar every night to have a rich nightlife. Because Hollywood is here in Los Angeles, the bars here are definitely world-class. After all, so many celebrities and rich people gather here. Recently, Qin Xiao found a bar that suits his taste, the Roger Room. The reason is that this bar is mostly populated by young people, many young couples, single young people, and young actors who have just come to Hollywood and have not yet become famous. Relatively speaking, compared to other bars, the people here are simpler. Although Qin Xiao also came here with the intention of hunting for beauties, he didn't want to meet some girls who were too hard-working or were after the dollars in your pocket. The most important thing is that Qin Xiao doesn't like those who are too dusty. After a few consecutive days, Qin Xiao finally took a fancy to a target. It should be a little girl with a dream of becoming a star, and she looks quite delicate. Qin Xiao has been secretly observing for several days, and today he decided to take the initiative. Just as he was about to get up, a slightly hoarse but seductive female voice suddenly came to his ears. "Hi, are you leaving? Why don't you sit for a while and have a drink with me?" Qin Xiao turned his head subconsciously. He almost said fuck directly. The woman in front of him was the Black Widow, also known as the Black Widow. Like Pepper and Tony Stark, I don't know if there is an automatic correction in this real world. Black Widow looked a little more immature than in the movie. Today, She didn't wear the black tights that made people's blood boil. Instead, she wore a bright red dress. She had an angelic face, not at all the roughness of Westerners. Her snow-white skin was faintly reflective under the light. Her proud double peaks were exposed under the background of the clothes, and matched with the white and shiny skin. Absolutely amazing. Qin Xiao couldn't think of any other adjectives. If you think Black Widow is not good-looking now, watch Scarlett Johansson's early movies. She has an angelic face. Here is her corrected appearance when she was young. This first-generation hero of the Avengers gave Qin Xiao an incomparable shock as soon as he appeared. Of course, Qin Xiao was shocked, but he was not obsessed with it. He first went through it in his mind to see if there was anything the S.H.I.E.L.D. or Hydra had targeted him since he came to this world. The only intersection should be the assassination on Isaiah's side, which should be the Hydra's people, but the assassin should have been cleared by Isaiah, and the system arrangement did not expose himself to their sight. It should be safe. Chapter 6 Flirting with Black Widow. Black Widow is the ace agent of SHIELD. And Qin Xiao knew that she would not appear in this bar for no reason. But as long as she is not coming for him, Qin Xiao is not afraid of trouble. Not to mention that she is an important plot character, just based on the angel face and devil figure in front of him. There is no reason to miss her, right? Qin Xiao's mind turned several times in an instant. Seeing that Qin Xiao did not speak for a long time, Black Widow opened her red lips and spoke again. What happened? Do you not understand English or do you not want to talk to me? Sorry, I was just thinking about how to trick such a beautiful lady into my apartment to spend a good night with me. Without the burden in his heart, Qin Xiao smiled slightly and sat down. That depends on your ability. Black Widow smiled. Waiter, give me a glass of wine according to the temperament of this beautiful lady. Qin Xiao snapped his fingers and handed the waiter a $100 bill. The rest is a tip. Thank you, sir. The waiter rarely saw such a generous guest, and bowed slightly to thank Qin Xiao. Don't thank me. If the drinks you mix don't match the temperament of these ladies, I will punch your balls into burritos. Qin Xiao has been here every day recently, sitting at the bar every time, and he has become quite familiar with the bartender. He shrank his neck, smiled, and hurried to prepare cocktails for Black Widow. Burritos? Handsome boy is quite humorous. Plus points, Black Widow said with a smile. Qin Xiao noticed that Black Widow's eyes occasionally looked at the three burly men at the innermost table. He didn't care, but looked at Black Widow's charming eyes and said, "There are still many points for me. You have plenty of time to get to know me slowly. The Asians I know are more reserved, and there are few like you. That's because you don't know enough Asians." The two chatted casually. After chatting for about 10 minutes, Qin Xiao noticed that several men got up and were about to leave. Black Widow pretended to glance over there casually. "I'm going to the bathroom." She left the bar on the pretext. Qin Xiao knew that she was going to find the three strong men, so he didn't expose her. He smiled and signaled her to do whatever she wanted. System task. How can a true gentleman let a girl fight? Help Black Widow subdue the three men and let Black Widow remember you. As one of the first-generation heroes of the Avengers, knowing her will help the subsequent tasks of this world. P.S. Even from a man's perspective, how can such a beautiful woman be let go easily? Host. Come on, okay. It was originally an easy way to hook up with a beautiful woman, but she had to get into trouble. But since it is a task, there is a reward, so there is no choice but to take action. Silently followed Black Widow out of the back door of the bar, found that the three men were almost at the entrance of the alley. Black Widow stood in the middle of the alley and said something to the three men. Qin Xiao could only tell that it was Russian, and didn't know what she said. But it shouldn't be a good thing, because Black Widow finished her words. One of the men was about to reach out from his arms to take out the gun, but was blocked by another person. The pistol had no silencer, and they didn't want to cause trouble. It was clear that they didn't take Black Widow, a woman, seriously. As for Qin Xiao, who just came out of the back door of the bar, a thin Asian man, they automatically regarded him as a background. The three of them didn't say anything, but rushed towards Black Widow with a grim smile. Who is Black Widow? How could they take her seriously? She smiled slightly and made a signature head tilt before taking action. She also began to speed up and rush towards the three strong men, but before she could run, a black shadow rushed over. At this moment, Qin Xiao not only had super soldier serum on her body, but also wore clothes transformed from E-level combat uniforms. She also had fighting skills comparable to the world's top soldiers. After a few flashes, she arrived in front of the three people, grabbed with her right hand, and pressed against the face of the man in front. Without stopping, the inertia of the body drove her arms, covered the man's face and threw him hard to the back. Bang! The back of the man's head hit the bridge of the nose of the man behind him accurately. He let go of his hand and elbowed to the side, and the last man didn't have time to break. He was hit on the temple by Qin Xiao's elbow. He fell to the ground cleanly, and Qin Xiao gave each of the two guys who were covering the back of their heads and noses with their heads down a knife. In less than 2 seconds, he rushed past Black Widow and knocked down the three men, like flowing water. After finishing, a smile hung on the corner of his mouth, and he turned around to make a better pose. Unexpectedly, when he turned around, he almost bumped into a black gun muzzle. "Fuck, what are you doing?" Qin Xiao was almost scared by the muzzle of the gun when he was forced to pretend to be cool. "Who are you?" Black Widow's expression was a little serious. The three opposite were not ordinary people. Even if she took action, it would take several rounds to knock down the three people. Qin Xiao was good. He knocked them all down before he could see what happened clearly. "Man." Qin Xiao raised his hands helplessly. "Look, I have no ill intentions. I just saw you go out and fight with others, so I should be a bit gentleman, right? You didn't buy me a drink, but you pointed a gun at my head?" Qin Xiao said with a smile, regardless of whether Black Widow intended to kill him. At this distance, he was sure that he could dodge the gun, not to mention that the clothes on his body were invulnerable. Black Widow did not feel hostility from Qin Xiao, but even so, she still cautiously stepped back 2 steps. The muzzle of the gun did not leave Qin Xiao's forehead. "You retreat first. I want to take these three people away." "Okay." Qin Xiao looked at Black Widow and slowly stepped back with his right foot. Black Widow just breathed a sigh of relief, and Qin Xiao's right leg kicked back. A Z-shaped move avoided Black Widow's aim and cut to her side before she could react. His right hand had already snatched the mini pistol from Black Widow's hand. The Black Widow in the movie is just an ordinary person with super high fighting skills and physical fitness, not like in the comics, who has modified genes. Qin Xiao has super serum. His speed and reaction have exceeded the human limit. He planned without intention. Black Widow was naturally hit. He pointed the gun directly at Black Widow's head and pushed her against the wall. "What do you want?" Black Widow looked at Qin Xiao expressionlessly, but her right hand was dishonestly approaching her thigh slowly. "Punish you for repaying kindness with enmity." Qin Xiao smiled slightly, and dismantled Black Widow's small pistol into pieces in 2 or 3 strokes. The basic fighting skills come with the use of general firearms. I don't know if the shooting is accurate, but there is no problem in understanding and using it. He threw the pieces on the ground, holding a bullet ejected from the pistol in his hand. He threw it lightly towards the middle of Black Widow's clothes. It was sandwiched between her breasts. "Do you know that Cupid not only uses bows and arrows, but also plays with pistols occasionally?" He smiled and touched Black Widow's waist. Qin Xiao stepped back violently, laughed and turned back to the bar. "This damn bastard." It was not until Qin Xiao returned to the bar that Black Widow's right hand slowly stretched out from her thigh under her skirt. In her hand was a small electric shock device. She was almost about to launch an attack just now. She didn't know whether Qin Xiao had planned it or it was just a coincidence. In the end, he turned around and left. Although she was very curious about who Qin Xiao was, the mission was more important at the moment. As for Qin Xiao, she would just investigate him casually when she had the chance in the future. With a bit of disgust and a bit of inexplicable feeling, Black Widow took out her mobile phone and asked the people in the bureau to come and clean up the mess. Qin Xiao didn't know what Black Widow was thinking, mainly because he had completed the mission. From a personal point of view, it was also a deep impression on Black Widow. Other things will be discussed later. It's almost enough for today. If I stay any longer, I will meet people from S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course, I am interested in Black Widow, but it's better to stay away from S.H.I.E.L.D. now. Thinking of the last bullet sliding into Black Widow's clothes, Qin Xiao felt a surge of heat in his heart. After entering the bar, he hurried to see the girl he had been paying attention to for several days, but found that she had left. "Oh, go back to sleep." Chapter 7 Fighting Coach takes office. After going to Stark Industries twice and getting 2 checks of $100,000, Qin Xiao finally received a call from Pepper. Tony Stark finally remembered his fighting coach. In fact, although Tony Stark is very pretentious, he still respects others when he wants to learn something from others. He specially sent Happy to pick Qin Xiao up and take him to Tony's house. Maybe it was because Qin Xiao's punch to the sandbag last time deeply shocked Happy. As Tony Stark's personal bodyguard, he felt that he needed to improve his professional level. On the way, he asked Qin Xiao to learn Kung Fu. Qin Xiao said it didn't matter, as long as your boss agreed, I have no objection. Compared with the mansion on the cliff by the sea in the movie, it is more shocking to see it in person in reality. This is simply as big as a small or medium-sized shopping mall. What's more annoying is that he didn't hire a servant for such a big house. Usually, except for his bedroom, he hides in the basement to invent. What's the use of such a big house, compared to the house, Jarvis, which already has the prototype of artificial intelligence, did not shock Qin Xiao that much. After all, when watching the movie, Jarvis gave people the same intuitive feeling as now. Just like that, with a revengeful mentality towards the evil capitalists in Tony's last fart, Qin Xiao started the first lesson with Tony, a basic martial arts skill that all Chinese people know. Horse stance. Go down a little bit, thighs and calves are at a 90-degree angle, buttocks down a little bit, don't stick it up. Oh, damn it, Happy, are you trying to seduce me with your fat buttocks? Go down a bit. Tony Stark and Qin Xiao were not so familiar with each other, and did not let Qin Xiao enter his underground laboratory. Instead, he took Qin Xiao to the large balcony outside. I'm here to learn Kung Fu, the kind of fighting with people, not to practice this weird posture. Happy couldn't put his buttocks down for a long time, and said dissatisfiedly, this is a basic skill of Chinese Kung Fu. I have practiced something similar. It can make your lower limbs stronger and less likely to be knocked down by the enemy. To Qin Xiao's surprise, Tony had practiced Wing Chun for a while. He even worshipped a Wing Chun master. In fact, actor Robert Downey Jr. practiced Wing Chun, not Tony Stark. I will use this here. At this moment, Tony not only seemed to be at ease with Happy's misunderstanding, but also took the time to explain it to Happy. The boss spoke, and Happy could only squat down again, swinging his butt hard, and it took him a long time to get the posture right. But I have a question. Tony had done horse stance before, and it was very easy for the first few minutes, and he could even find time to chat with Qin Xiao. You say? Qin Xiao got a chair from somewhere and said while half lying down, the master I learned Wing Chun from before was a famous martial arts master in your China. Why do you feel that he is not as good as you? Real Kung Fu is a killing skill. There are very few of them outside. Most of the Chinese Kung Fu outside are just some fancy moves for performance. In simple terms, it's like the difference between a Hogwarts and a magician outside. Do you understand? Muggles. Qin Xiao's words were not nonsense. Not to mention the Marvel world. There are Kung Fu characters like Shanghai in the later period. In the previous life, real martial arts did decline in this era. You ordinary people can't find real masters. Whether it is a famous martial arts school or a martial arts master outside, they are all fancy moves, all for performance. I don't know if Tony has been free recently, and he almost asked Happy to pick up Qin Xiao to practice every day. This forced Qin Xiao to take this matter seriously. Although Qin Xiao doesn't know the real Chinese boxing, but facing Tony and Happy, two pure laymen, it's still okay to fool around. Let them do horse stance every day and practice physical fitness for an hour. Finally, they were allowed to fight each other, with Qin Xiao giving instructions. Apart from anything else, after nearly a month, their fighting skills had indeed improved rapidly. And Qin Xiao's biggest gain was that he became more and more familiar with Tony Stark. After a month of getting along, Qin Xiao unexpectedly discovered that the two had a lot in common. Hate all formalism, don't like people who are too serious, think they are hypocritical, etc. In fact, these are common to most people, but most people are rolling in this long world and are worn down by reality. For example, Qin Xiao in his previous life, Tony Stark was very lucky. His identity and his talent determined that he could maintain his attitude and persistence in the world. But after crossing over and getting the system, His unrestrained and uninhibited nature slowly began to emerge. The most important point is that the two have the same bad taste. For example, Happy, who has been given several nicknames by the two recently, Fat Ass Butter, Elegant Big Ass Dancer, etc. Now Happy doesn't dare to practice fighting with the two. The main reason is that Tony Stark is indeed quite talented. With constant physical training and Qin Xiao's guidance, Happy has gradually begun to be no match for Tony. This is definitely a huge insult to a bodyguard. I heard that he has recently begun to have the idea of transferring to the security department of Stark Industries, just when Qin Xiao was busy training Tony every day and slowly building friendship with him. At the headquarters of SHIELD in Washington, the office of Director Nick Fury, Bald Egg is maintaining his usual style, standing by the window and looking coldly at the scenery outside. Behind him, standing is the Black Widow in a black tights. Compared with the last time Qin Xiao met in the bar, the Black Widow in a combat uniform looks more heroic. Almost all the agents committed suicide. The only two left also gritted their teeth during the interrogation and refused to speak no matter how they were tortured. Black Widow said lightly, "It doesn't matter. We have already removed all the secret lines in the United States. They can't do anything they want to do. It doesn't matter whether they know or not. I'll let you deal with your former colleagues by yourself. How do you feel, Agent Romanoff?" Nick Fury turned around and asked. "I did too many wrong things in the past. I am happy to use my understanding of them to disrupt their activities. For me, this is like making up for past mistakes." Black Widow's expression was very calm, as if she had completely walked out of the shadow of the past. "Oh, if you really think so, that's great. This matter is over. We don't need to discuss it anymore. Send those two agents away peacefully. I am very interested in the Asian man you met last time." Nick Fury pointed to a document on the desk and said. The first page of the document was Qin Xiao's name and photo, and below that document was the document of the Avengers plan. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Being targeted by SHIELD. Hawkeye and Black Widow almost represent the highest level of fighting of ordinary people on this planet, whether in speed, physical fitness or strength. According to Black Widow's description of Qin Xiao, that is a person who can far crush her. It is precisely because of this irrationality that Black Widow directly drew her gun when Qin Xiao did not show any malice. This kind of oppression from strength has only been brought to her by one person in her career as an agent. That is the legendary Winter Soldier. According to Black Widow's statement to Captain America and Captain America 2, Black Widow was shot in the abdomen by the Winter Soldier in 2009. Now it is 2008 here, and Iron Man has not been born. So I will make a small change. Super serum is not a trivial matter. So Black Widow told Nick Fury the whole thing, plus her own analysis and speculation. Nick Fury knew that the military still had some incomplete super serum samples, and it was impossible to create a real super soldier, so he suspected that Qin Xiao had accidentally mutated. So he checked Qin Xiao's life trajectory and everyone who appeared around him. The resources in Nick Fury's hands are not comparable to those of ordinary intelligence agencies. Soon, Nick Fury thoroughly investigated the experiences from childhood to adulthood created by the system for Qin Xiao. In the more than 20 years that Qin Xiao has been here, the only two unusual things that happened were the shooting incident in which his parents died in his childhood, and the shooting incident that happened in Isaiah's house when Qin Xiao just traveled through some time ago. However, in both incidents, there was a person who was deliberately erased. Isaiah is an existence that the US government refuses to recognize. Isaiah, who was squeezed out of the last bit of value by the government and was pardoned by a certain president, has been hiding from place to place. After Nick Fury knew his name, all the confidential files were placed on his desk within a few hours. With these, Nick Fury can deduce a rough idea of the matter. A super soldier earlier than Captain America. The first successful experiment, Black Widow said in disbelief. Yes, there are always some bastards in the government who like to do some dirty things. He served the country and fought against Hydra, but was thrown into a laboratory and imprisoned for 30 years. Nick Fury was indignant. Isaiah's experience was indeed too tragic, but Nick Fury knew very well that with Isaiah's power, it was impossible to extract the super serum by himself and successfully create a super soldier, so the only answer is an accident. Some kind of accident happened, which made Qin Xiao melt the super serum. Maybe it was the shooting. Nick Fury analyzed the matter almost to the point, but no matter whether his analysis was right or not, one thing is certain, that Qin Xiao is definitely a super soldier who has broken the limits of the human body, and he just happened to have a plan that needed a super soldier. Agent Romanov, your job in the next period of time is to get close to Qin Xiao. I need a comprehensive psychological assessment and personality analysis report. The more detailed the better. Yes, Black Widow agreed and turned and walked out of Nick Fury's office. Nick Fury sighed and set his eyes on the Avengers plan. You know, this plan has been in his mind for more than 10 years. Few people in the world know that aliens really exist. They are countless times more powerful than the Earth in terms of individuals and technology. The Earth needs some super soldiers, some superhumans, and a superhero group that can resist alien civilizations one day. During this period of time, Qin Xiao once again spent all the 500 points given by the last mission, E-level cold weapon mastery, and also customized a tank sword. The system is very considerate. In order to facilitate Qin Xiao's carrying, there is only one handle in the initial state. The blade is broken into pieces and hidden in the handle. When using it, just open the handle and swing it hard, and the blade will take shape immediately. The joints of each section are covered by the dragon relief on the blade. The blade is black as a whole, and only the blade emits a hint of the cold light of the alloy material itself. Qin Xiao tried it, and ordinary metal materials can be easily split in half. Only some special alloys can resist the chopping of the Stang sword. With the right weapon, Qin Xiao's fighting power was greatly improved again. Qin, if you have time tonight, accompany me to a charity cocktail party. In the basement of Tony's villa, Tony had just been beaten up by Qin Xiao. At this moment, he was lying on the ring, looking at the ceiling, panting. Tony, I'm not your female companion. Why should I accompany you to a charity cocktails party? I don't have so much money to do charity, Qin Xiao said while taking mineral water from the freezer. I'm Tony Stark, man. I never need a female companion to attend a cocktail party. As soon as I show up, all the women will rush towards me crazily. But you won't have the chance to experience this, whether you go or not. There are many beauties, and there are also many Hollywood actresses. Speaking of many beauties, Qin Xiao was a little moved. Then Tony Stark said again, "You're only 22, man, for God's sake. I went to parties every night when I was 22. You should make more friends now. Come on, let's go relax. I'm going to Afghanistan in a few days to sign a contract with the military. Just treat it as a carnival before leaving." Afghanistan. Qin Xiao silently recited the name of the country in his heart. It seems that the plot is about to begin. I don't know what kind of tasks the system will give me. How many points can I get? The trip to Afghanistan was a turning point in Tony's life, and it was also the place where Iron Man broke out of his cocoon and became a butterfly. So even during this period, Qin Xiao and Tony got along very well. In the end, Qin Xiao swallowed the words that asked Tony to be careful, and agreed to go to the cocktails party with him in the evening. At this kind of cocktails party, most people have their own small circle, chatting with each other in twos and threes. Tony usually seldom interacts with others too much except for being surrounded by beautiful women. This time, he simply dragged Qin Xiao along. "Tony, I just found out that you are a liar. You told me this was a charity reception, but it turned out to be a celebration party where the military awarded you the patriotic trophy. Look around here. There are old men in military uniforms everywhere. Where are the Hollywood stars you mentioned? Bastard!" Qin Xiao found that he was fooled. This was clearly the award ceremony at the beginning of the Iron Man movie. Relax. Maybe I remembered it wrong. I just promised them to be there. I didn't say that I would wait for the award honestly. Come with me and take you to find beauties. Just like in the movie, Tony ran directly to the casino of the hotel. However, in the movie, Tony was followed by a large group of bodyguards, but now, only Happy followed Tony and Qin Xiao. Come on, relax, have some chips and have fun. There will be a steady stream of beauties coming up soon. I can promise to let you pick first, provided that they are willing to give up me. Tony stuffed a lot of chips into Qin Xiao's hands. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes. With your wealth, these girls here must be crazy to follow me. Anyway, he would not be able to meet a beautiful girl tonight. Qin Xiao wanted to help Tony lose more money. He viciously put all the chips in his hand on the number 1 in the roulette betting area. Oh, damn, have you never gambled before? That's right, number 1 is not a wise choice. It's too lonely, isn't it? If it were me, I would choose number 2. Tony Stark's words were taken over by a woman's voice that Qin Xiao was familiar with. While speaking, she stretched out her hand and pushed Qin Xiao's chips to the number 2 position. Chapter 9. The story begins. Black Widow. Black Widow wore a two-piece dress with a white base and light blue on the outside today. The slanted hem of the dress covered a white gauze that went over the knees. Her round and straight thighs were faintly visible, compared to the time they met at the bar. This time the dress was much more innocent and playful. But in the casino, where beautiful women were wearing vests and hot pants everywhere, this dress gave people more temptation. To say how tempting it was, just look at Tony Stark next to him. When this guy saw Black Widow coming out, his eyes were straight. Hello, although I am sure you definitely know me, I still want to introduce myself. I am Tony Stark. Of course, who in this country doesn't know Tony Stark? Natasha Romanoff. Black Widow did not hide her real name. I don't know if she felt it was unnecessary or her information was top secret and she was not afraid of being found out. Nodding politely at Tony, Black Widow turned to Qin Xiao and said, I'm sorry I left early last time at the bar. Today I'll make it up to you and play with you. Okay. Qin Xiao unceremoniously extended his hand and let Black Widow hold his arm. Wow, the roulette wheel started to move. The small iron ball rolled on the roulette wheel for several circles, and finally slowly stopped on number 2. Tony saw such a rare beauty running directly to Qin Xiao. He wanted to say a few sour words, but when he saw that the roulette wheel actually ran to number 2, he couldn't help but exclaimed. Yes, Tony didn't care about this little money, but there were 38 numbers in the American roulette wheel, and it was really exciting to hit the bet number at once. Seeing that the beauty was obviously coming for Qin Xiao, Tony could only turn around and ask happy indifferently, how many chips did I give him just now? It seems to be 180,000, right? This time I won 6.3 million. Damn it, Qin, you should thank this beautiful girl. She has a share of the money here. I paid the principal, half for each of us. Your share is for this girl. Happy, take half of the chips here and follow me. This beauty came for Qin Xiao, and Tony couldn't pester her no matter how much he liked her. He chose to find another place to be cool, but before leaving, he put his head into Qin Xiao's ear and whispered, tell me the name of the bar you often go to later, and I'll find you when I come back from Afghanistan. Tony, be careful. Qin Xiao still couldn't help but told Tony, but it seemed that he didn't take it to heart at all. After sending Tony away, Qin Xiao looked back at the Black Widow beside him. Don't say it was an accidental encounter tonight. I don't believe it, Ms. Romanoff. Okay, I admit that I came to see you on purpose, but we'll talk about it later. Now you have to play with me for a while. I have a share of the chips. As Stark said just now, Black Widow acted like a little girl at this moment. She dragged Qin Xiao around the casino and placed bets casually at the table she saw. However, the Black Widow in the movie is only 24 years old now, only 2 years older than Qin Xiao in this world. Seriously speaking, she can indeed be considered a big child. I don't know if Black Widow is really prosperous or if they are lucky together. The two of them placed bets casually at each table. They actually collected $4 million in chips. When it came time to exchange chips, Black Widow said that the money was useless to her and didn't want a penny. Qin Xiao didn't care and directly put all of it in his account. Before leaving, he saw Tony getting into his car with a female reporter at the entrance of the hotel. He even winked at Qin Xiao before leaving. It looks like you have a good relationship. As far as I know, it's not easy to be friends with Tony Stark. The two walked to the entrance of the hotel, and Black Widow spoke first. Really? Maybe we can talk to each other more. but I think it seems more difficult for an elite agent to lean on me like a little bird." "How did you tell that?" Black Widow was not surprised, but asked with a smile while tilting her head. "Is it hard to guess, running to the back door of the bar in the middle of the night to fight 3 strong men, either killers or agents, and you didn't kill them?" Although he knew that Black Widow was an internationally famous agent, Qin Xiao still had the urge to rub her head when he saw her like this. "Okay, you got it right, I'm an agent. You already know my identity. This time, I'll ask you a question." The two of them casually strolled on the street, and Black Widow asked casually, "Go ahead." Qin Xiao pouted his lips to show that he didn't care. "How did you get the super serum? Was it because of Isaiah?" Black Widow didn't intend to hide it, and went straight to the point. This time, it was Qin Xiao who felt unbelievable. What kind of efficiency is S.H.I.E.L.D., just relying on his one shot? He followed the clues to find out so many things. But since Black Widow was so straightforward, Qin Xiao didn't hide it. He told Black Widow everything that happened. "In the end, I was just lucky." "Did you approach me for the super serum?" Qin Xiao was a little wary, although for him, the relationship with Isaiah was just a system-created relationship. But in Isaiah's heart, he really treated him as a child. He didn't want Isaiah to catch him in a laboratory for human experiments because of him. "No, we are not interested in the serum. It is too unstable. Besides, none of us will bother Isaiah. Instead, we will secretly clean up those people around him who have bad intentions. My target is you." The two of them walked to a park unknowingly. Black Widow let go of Qin Xiao and sat on a bench and said, "Oh?" Qin Xiao sat down beside her. "Is it me? So the bullet shot into your heart last time? If you mention that to me again, I will make a sandwich out of your head." Black Widow said angrily. Okay, I will never mention the bullet I put into your chest again. Now explain what it means to target me, Agent Romanov." Qin Xiao pretended to raise his hands and surrender. "Formally introduce, Natasha Romanov, Senior Agent of the Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. We are responsible for monitoring all threatening things and individuals in the world." "Qin Xiao, do you think I am a threat to this world?" Qin Xiao also reintroduced himself. "You have strength, speed and reaction that exceed the limits of the human body. With a little training, you can become the most powerful killer in the world. You can assassinate some important figures, even the president of a country. I believe no one can stop you. Do you think we will turn a blind eye to you? Then what do you want to do? Lock me up?" Qin Xiao looked at the Black Widow and said, "Of course not. I am only responsible for observation and give you a risk assessment report. If you don't have antisocial and anti-human signs, we won't arrest you." The Black Widow did not tell Nick Fury's Avengers plan herself. Instead, she went around in circles. "Then I am very lustful. I get dizzy easily when I see beautiful women, especially beautiful women like you. Does this count as a threat?" The Black Widow was very smart. Anyway, she was exposed in front of Qin Xiao. She simply pointed out her identity directly. Just like meeting a new friend, she chatted with Qin Xiao casually. She would naturally analyze every word and every expression and movement of Qin Xiao. Finally, it was handed over to Nick Fury. The two sat in the park and chatted until late at night before leaving. The next day, before dinner, Qin Xiao received a call from Happy. Tony Stark disappeared after being attacked by terrorists in Afghanistan. The plot finally began. Qin Xiao asked the system why he couldn't return after completing 2 tasks. The system's answer was that he had to wait until Tony Stark transformed into Iron Man and Qin Xiao defeated Iron Man with him before he could return to the real world. Although for Qin Xiao, whether in the real world or the Marvel world, he is just a time traveler. But the real world still gives people a more down-to-earth feeling, and he has integrated the memories of his predecessor, and there are still a lot of things waiting for him to deal with in the real world. The premise is to get points so that he can go back and exchange them for a large amount of money. Chapter 10, Rescue. As a top agent, Black Widow is quite good at judging people. Although the two chatted about this and that, Black Widow knew that Qin Xiao had no interest in joining the Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D. Everyone knows that too much is as bad as too little. Anyway, Black Widow and Qin Xiao are temporarily friends now, so Nick Fury temporarily set his sights on other places. But only he knows how many spies are secretly watching. As for Tony Stark, he has been missing for almost half a month. The US military and the FBI have been searching all over Afghanistan like crazy. But there is still no news. Agent Romanov, did you miss me? On the 14th day of Tony Stark's disappearance, Qin Xiao received a task from the system: rescue Tony Stark. Qin Xiao thought that he had to wait until Tony came back, the plot officially began, and then defeat the villain. Unexpectedly, such a task came suddenly. Although Qin Xiao has seen the movie, he is not omniscient, such as the specific location of the cave. The military and the FBI plowed Afghanistan like locusts, but they couldn't find a place, let alone Qin Xiao alone. So, Qin Xiao called Black Widow. Compared to the current environment, yes, I miss you, working with you is like a vacation. Black Widow's voice was loud, accompanied by the sound of gunfire. Are you on a mission, or let's talk later? Wait for me, Black Widow said lightly. Qin Xiao listened to all kinds of noises and gunshots coming from the phone. There were also sounds of people groaning and people falling to the ground. Finally, there was a man's long and miserable scream. Then Black Widow answered the phone. Do you have something to do with me? The scream just now was a bit brainwashing. Qin Xiao couldn't help asking, what did you do to the guy who screamed just now? I stepped on his balls into a burrito. Hiss. Although Qin Xiao said this first, Black Widow said it half-jokingly. Qin Xiao still took a breath of cold air. From the screams of the man just now, Qin Xiao felt that Black Widow was probably not joking. For a moment, he felt a faint pain in his lower body, and he couldn't help but change his sitting position. Then he started to talk about serious matters. Obadiah Stane, the second largest shareholder of Stark Industries, you know, I need some information about him. Are you in Los Angeles? It would be best if we can have a face-to-face meeting. Do you suspect that Stark's disappearance is related to him? Black Widow reacted quickly, and after a moment of hesitation, she immediately asked back, yes. Are you in Los Angeles? I think we should meet, and don't tell anyone yet. Wait for me, I'll be there in 2 hours. Black Widow hung up the phone directly. In fact, it took Black Widow only an hour and a half to arrive at Qin Xiao's door. Obviously, S.H.I.E.L.D. is also very concerned about Tony Stark's affairs. Because Black Widow was wearing a tight black combat uniform, she came here without even changing her clothes. Whoosh tilde. Qin Xiao opened his mouth and whistled. You go out in the street in this outfit in the middle of the night. It's simply an insult to the profession of gangsters. If they don't mind their balls turning into burritos, I welcome it. Black Widow gently pushed Qin Xiao away and sat down on the sofa. Tell me, why do you suspect that guy? Black Widow got straight to the point. First of all, not many people know Tony's plan en route to Afghanistan, except for those around him and the military. Qin Xiao took a bottle of drink from the refrigerator for Black Widow. I believe the military has filtered it internally. Secondly, who is the person who benefits most from Stark's disappearance? He is the only one who meets these two conditions. Isn't it simple? Just watch a suspense movie and you will know. Qin Xiao said exaggeratedly. In fact, it's not that no one has doubted it. It's just that when Tony Stark's father died, it was Obadiah who overcame all objections and helped Tony Stark take charge of the entire company. If he wanted to swallow up the company, it was the best opportunity. So in everyone's eyes, Obadiah is an uncle-like role, helping Tony manage the company, help him with public relations in times of crisis, and clean up the troubles he caused. This partner looks like the greatest wealth that Howard Stark left to his son. Everyone knows this, and Qin Xiao, who has been with Tony for so long, naturally knows it. So he continued, everyone thinks that Obadiah helped Tony control Stark Industries, but in fact, only Obadiah knows that Tony is a hen that lays golden eggs. He is different from Tony and his father. He is a businessman. He is very good at investing, whether it is investing in Howard or Stark, and now it is time for him to reap the rewards. Qin Xiao's words are very credible, as long as there is a motive. The only one who meets all the conditions at the same time is Obadiah, the big bald head. I admit that what you said makes sense, but it is far from enough. We can't arrest him based on this speculation. I'm not the Minister of Defense. Black Widow made a helpless move. Of course I understand what you mean, but I didn't say I was going to arrest him. I just want to find out where Stark is. I just want to rescue my friend. If it was really him, he must have contacted the people who kidnapped Tony. and there must be some clues left. Do you understand what I mean? You must be an expert in this area. Give it a try. If not, there is no trouble. Secretly check some of his personal records, such as emails, phone calls, etc. I think this should not be a big deal for you. Secretly investigating a person is indeed nothing for the famous Black Widow, but the internal network of Stark Industries is a headache for Black Widow. Stark Industries has its own communication satellite and its own independent internal network. There is no problem for all external networks to cut in, but once data outflow occurs, they will immediately call the police and directly cut off the network. Simple, crude, but very effective. They must be broken through in the internal network. Just when Qin Xiao was thinking about whether to ask Happy or Pepper for help, Black Widow went out to make a phone call. Okay, we just have to wait for the result. Done. Didn't you just say that there is no other way except from the inside? Do you have someone in Stark Industries? Qin Xiao asked in surprise. It's not me, it's us. I asked the director to dispatch our people in Stark Industries. There should be news soon, Black Widow said with confidence. Qin Xiao was not calm. What? You informed your director? Damn it. Didn't I tell you not to tell anyone? I am on a mission. I can't just disappear and run thousands of kilometers away to see you. I have to report. Do you understand? Don't worry. We are the largest intelligence agency in the world. Our people are carefully selected. They are not only professional, but also reliable, Black Widow said solemnly. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes and thought that you will know it when you really understand what S.H.I.E.L.D. is. But now, you can only pray that the person in Nick Fury's hand is not a Hydra, otherwise, God knows how many unexpected troubles will be caused. Chapter 11 Entering Afghanistan. Nick Fury's people acted quickly. In less than an hour, Black Widow received a folder in her mailbox. Not only was there evidence that Obadiah secretly sold weapons to terrorists, but there was also a video sent by the terrorists showing Tony Stark tied to a chair. It seems that you guessed it right, it is indeed related to Obadiah. It just takes a little time to find Tony Stark. Once we find Tony Stark's location, we will rescue him as soon as possible. Wait for my good news, Black Widow said as if she was about to leave. Qin Xiao quickly grabbed her. I want to go with you. Qin Xiao knew that with the strength of S.H.I.E.L.D., saving people would definitely not be a big problem, but he had a mission to do, and points were a good thing. No, this is not your job. Trust us. Black Widow rejected Qin Xiao outright. Tony is my friend, and I provided the clue. No matter from which perspective, I need to go there, and I am not an ordinary civilian. Qin Xiao looked at Black Widow without giving in. Suddenly Black Widow's cell phone rang. The call was from Nick Fury, so Black Widow naturally chose to report the situation. To Black Widow's surprise, Nick Fury accepted Qin Xiao's suggestion to go together. But there was a condition, that Qin Xiao must join SHIELD. When Qin Xiao was hesitating, the voice of the system sounded in his mind. Mission: join SHIELD and become an agent of SHIELD. The mission had points reward, so Qin Xiao would naturally not let it go. But he still couldn't help asking, System, why do you want me to join SHIELD? Wouldn't it be more free outside? The system's answer was, in order to allow the host to better complete some subsequent tasks. Rest assured, the host will not always work for SHIELD. With this sentence, Qin Xiao felt much more relieved. I agree, I join SHIELD, and you can take me to Afghanistan. Qin Xiao was still hesitating the moment before, but he suddenly agreed. Black Widow was a little puzzled. Why, didn't you say you didn't want to have too many constraints? I need a job, Qin Xiao said meanly. Black Widow naturally didn't believe this, but if Qin Xiao didn't say it, she had no choice. She could only say, okay, get ready to go to Afghanistan to complete your first mission together, rookie agent. Southern desert of Afghanistan. A Quinjet flew across the sky and slowly stopped at the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The rear end slowly opened and lowered a metal ramp. A Chinese-made civilian off-road vehicle with a Pakistani license plate slowly drove out of the plane. Black Widow, dressed as a backpacker, and Qin Xiao sat in the front seat of the off-road vehicle. Black Widow, in the driver's seat, slowly gestured a thumbs up towards the plane. The three jets on the tail and wings of the Quinjet spurted out blue flames and soared into the sky. They left this place in an instant. We already know the place. Shouldn't there be several planes, a group of special operations personnel with real guns and live ammunition come over and shoot, and then directly rescue the people? Qin Xiao made a thumping motion with both hands and asked in confusion. First of all, to do that, we need to do a lot of reconnaissance, including the number of people, weapons, geographical location, etc. We have to ensure the safety of the hostages. Second, they are not in Afghanistan, but in Pakistan. Although this desert is an uninhabited area, we cannot directly enter their airspace. This is very dangerous, Black Widow said while driving with one hand in a very casual manner. Why? Qin Xiao didn't understand. In the movie, let alone the United States, even the Avengers could go wherever they wanted. There was no problem of any territory or border, because Pakistan has an ally behind it, called China. There is a saying that goes, "Don't walk around with weapons around lions." Any country knows that China can leave the world, but the world cannot leave China, Black Widow said lightly. Qin Xiao understood what Black Widow meant very well. It didn't matter if the two drove in, but it was different if they drove a fighter. And although it was not in the same time and space, Qin Xiao still felt a little excited about the country's strength. Organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D., their fighters didn't dare to cross the border of Pakistan even a little bit. How afraid of China they must be. Seeing Qin Xiao's proud expression, Black Widow said with a smile, "I almost forgot that you are Chinese. Did you know? There is a saying in the intelligence community that no matter whether it is an international spy, agent, or even a mercenary, never enter China." Do you know why? Oh, why? Qin Xiao was quite interested. During the Cold War, Soviet and American spies were everywhere in the world, but all of those who entered China mysteriously disappeared. From what I know, the Soviet Union and the United States each sent no less than 3 batches of hundreds of people to enter, and in the end, all lost contact. According to legend, the intelligence departments of the two countries finally received a note from the relevant Chinese department, on which were written 4 big characters, "No entry for strangers." I thought it was a legend before, until I entered the Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau. I saw the note with my own eyes. It was unbelievable. Black Widow told Qin Xiao something about China, and the vehicle went all the way south and entered Pakistan. At the junction of Pakistan and Afghanistan is a huge desert, no man's land. Neither side has troops stationed in the desert, but after the Ten Rings terrorists who called themselves freedom fighters kidnapped Tony Stark, they knew that Afghanistan would be turned upside down by the Americans, so they were very smart and led their men directly into Pakistan. This not only avoided the search of the U.S. military, but also as long as they were not too close to the edge of the Pakistani desert, no one would enter the desert to search for them. But they never thought that their video would fall into the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D. They were very cautious when sending emails and forwarded them through servers in different countries. Several terrorists in the video also covered their faces, revealing only the position of their eyes. But combined with the place of Afghanistan, this is enough for S.H.I.E.L.D. Chapter 12 Desert Night. After receiving the video, we immediately analyzed the visible range of these masked terrorists, and then hacked into the entire Afghan surveillance system through a new identification system. Whether it is public or private surveillance, or even mobile phones, laptops, tablets, etc., as long as they are connected to the internet, we can capture them all. 2 days ago, we identified several terrorists in the video in a restaurant in this town. The similarity of the eyebrows and eyes of the 3 people was more than 85%. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be here, on a sand dune in the desert. Black Widow was connecting a monocular telescope with a laptop. The car was parked on the back of the sand dune and was covered by a yellow car cover with desert camouflage by Black Widow. The town in the distance was still a black dot in Qin Xiao's sight, but after Black Widow completed the connection, Qin Xiao noticed that everyone entering and leaving the town would be captured by the telescope's automatic focus lock. Then the image was directly transmitted to this computer, and the computer software would automatically analyze and identify it. Are we just going to sit here and stare at the computer? Qin Xiao wiped the sweat from his head. In broad daylight, The high temperature in the desert was indeed quite torturous. It will automatically call the police once it is identified. Black Widow stood up and stretched. Her devilish figure was fully displayed in this action, especially with her pure and lustful angel face. I should go to Chinatown to buy some herbal tea first. Qin Xiao swallowed hard. Black Widow noticed Qin Xiao's eyes and smiled slightly. Go and set up the tent quickly. I'll put a few small things to help us guard. If we are unlucky, we may have to stay here for a week. Due to the border issue, they cannot enter the country directly on a large scale. They can only find the people secretly, then go to check the location, determine the number of people and weapons of the other party, especially the exact location of Tony Stark. Only then can they decide what to do next. Although it may take a week, Qin Xiao just opened the tent and the computer sounded an alarm. So lucky, Qin Xiao ran to the computer in 2 or 3 steps, although he was not very good at using this software. But a close-up shot was pulled up. An off-road vehicle with 4 people in it. The first 2 people matched with each other by 87% and 89% respectively. Even a fool could see it clearly. It should be them. Let's go. The telescope had been locked on them, and Qin Xiao cleaned up in a few seconds. The 2 got in the car and followed the car from a distance. They followed him all the way to the west, bumping in the desert for more than 3 hours. Only then did they find their lair. Qin Xiao was extremely grateful to have Black Widow by his side. If you want to track a car in the desert, you can't get too close, but you will lose the trace if you are too far away, because the tire marks will be buried by the yellow sand in a short time. In addition, he was born with some road idiots, so he was alone in the desert. Even if he had a GPS, just say he was looking for someone, and it would be good if he didn't get lost. He walked and observed with a telescope all the way, and finally, the off-road vehicle stopped at the back of a sand dune again. The 2 of them lay on the sand dune and took out the telescope. Terrorists really know how to choose places. This is the border of Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is not comparable to reality. People who are good at geography, please don't criticize me. The area is a little closer to Pakistan, and it is a large desert with no one. They didn't know where they found such a small hill with sand and soil slopes and gravel structures. They opened a few caves in the hills, and the other side was a sand slope with a crack in the middle. A small terrain similar to a canyon was opened. If you look at it from a distance on the ground, you can't see anything at all. You have to observe it carefully and closely from high altitude. No wonder so many people can't find where Tony Stark is. Finding the place is just the beginning. In the next 3 days, Black Widow used her actions to let Qin Xiao know what professionalism is. From the vehicles coming in and out and the transportation of supplies, it can be roughly judged that there are about 70-80 people in this small base. From the water, food and other materials that the terrorists regularly sent to a cave, it can be roughly judged that there are not only hostages here, but also a great possibility that it is Tony Stark, because they may be making weapons in the cave. What Qin Xiao admired most was that she could lie on the sand dunes with a telescope and stare at the terrorist camp almost all day, dig a small sand pit and cover it with a camouflage uniform to protect against the sun, so that she could not drink water all day. In order to reduce the number of excretions, you have to know that this is in the desert. Compared with some flashbacks in the movie, this can make Qin Xiao feel more directly how cruel the training she went through was. In order to facilitate observation, they set up a small tent on the back of the sand dune. Although it is far enough away from the terrorist camp, they still dare not light a fire at night. The moonlight is good tonight. Looking at the delicate face of the Black Widow under the moonlight, Qin Xiao felt a little sad for no reason. This girl is only 24 years old. If there is a chance for you to change your life, I mean a normal life, would you accept it? These few days, it is rare to be alone with this peerless beauty every night. Qin Xiao has always teased her when he has nothing to do, and today he suddenly said that. The Black Widow was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Impossible. That's impossible for me. I did a lot of wrong things before, very many. Now, for me, it's more like a forgiveness. I'm glad I have such an opportunity." The smile of the Black Widow was 3 parts of guilt and 3 parts of shame, and even more of unspeakable bitterness. Qin Xiao also suddenly became serious. "It's not your fault, Natasha, remember my words. You are just a sword, You are not the executioner. The one who is wrong is the one who uses the sword. The weapon itself is neither right nor wrong. This was the first time Qin Xiao called the Black Widow Natasha, and it was also the first time he said such comforting words to her so seriously. Natasha was silent for a long time before she said, "Thank you. We will prepare for action tonight. Go and rest first. We must stay alert. Someone will support us later. You keep watch." After that, Natasha turned and went into the tent. "I just found out that I actually received a gift, and it's a character summoning talisman. I am very grateful to Brother Qin Yu from Ziwu Town. This is the first gift of this book. I didn't expect to receive a gift after just writing such a small number of words. This is an unparalleled encouragement to the author. Thank you." Chapter 13 Hawkeye Support. Black Widow had said before that due to the border issue, they couldn't enter the country in large numbers to rescue Tony. Qin Xiao thought that a few people would come to deliver some equipment and supplies to facilitate the two of them to sneak into the camp of the Ten Rings. Unexpectedly, S.H.I.E.L.D. directly sent another ace agent, Hawkeye. Hawkeye appeared in front of Qin Xiao on foot at 1 o'clock in the middle of the night, just like what he saw in the movie. He was wearing a black combat uniform, carrying a quiver on his back, and holding a combination bow in his hand. He also held a bag in his hand, which contained various individual combat weapons. I don't know if it's because the actors in the movie are generally older. So far, all the characters in the plot that Qin Xiao has seen look much younger than they do in the movie. Hawkeye looks like he is only 30 years old at most, quite energetic, with a cold expression on his face. "Clint Barton, Agent Barton, this is Qin Xiao." Black Widow gave the two a brief introduction. "Natasha told me about you. You lost Isaiah's blood and became a super soldier. You are very lucky, boy." Hawkeye stretched out his right hand towards Qin Xiao. "You call me a kid, and say I'm lucky? Haha." Qin Xiao sneered in his heart, and stretched out his hand to hold Hawkeye's right hand. "Sure enough, you want to test me?" Looking at Hawkeye's strong arm, Qin Xiao smiled slightly and exerted force on his hand. Hawkeye's face changed instantly. "Huh?" Exclamation mark. "God is my witness." Hawkeye was just shaking hands normally. It was all Qin Xiao's imagination, and he directly increased his strength. His current strength is calculated in tons. Even if Hawkeye is a top agent, he is still within the range of humans. "Hey, Qin, what are you doing? Let go." Fortunately, Natasha pulled Qin Xiao away in time. Otherwise Hawkeye wouldn't even be able to pull the bow today. "Are you okay?" Natasha looked at Hawkeye, whose face was flushed. Hawkeye didn't say anything, shook his hands, and moved his palms again, indicating that he was fine. "What are you doing? Are you crazy? Why are you shaking hands so hard?" Natasha questioned. Qin Xiao was also embarrassed. In fact, he knew as soon as he exerted force that Hawkeye had no intention of testing him. Otherwise he would not have resisted at all. He looked like he was attacked by surprise. He scratched his head awkwardly. He explained with an embarrassed face. "I thought he was going to test me. That's how it's played in the movies. Besides, he called me kid and said I was lucky." Qin Xiao's voice became smaller and smaller. He was really embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Agent Barton. How about I don't resist and you pinch me back?" Qin Xiao stretched out his right hand. Hawkeye glanced at him and resisted the urge to punch him in the nose. He finally saw that this kid was a 100% pure rookie. "You owe me one, remember it." After saying that, he turned around with a cold face and went to pack up his equipment. As soon as he turned around, Hawkeye's face was twisted and he almost cried. There was no way. It hurt too much to pinch his hand bones. It was a short episode, and it was considered that he and Hawkeye didn't know each other. 4 o'clock in the morning is said to be the time when humans sleep the deepest at night. A figure slowly sneaked into the vicinity of the Ten Rings gang camp. "I have arrived at the designated location." Over. Qin Xiao lay down less than 20 meters away from the camp, wearing a night vision goggles the size of ordinary sunglasses on his eyes. He said softly, "Got it, don't move yet, pay attention to the camp, follow the instructions, and don't say over. This is not a movie, rookie." Hawkeye's voice came from the headset. On a small sand dune less than 100 meters away from the camp, Hawkeye finished speaking, turned off the voice, picked up a bow and arrow, pointed at the camp and said, "Compete?" The same old rules? Next to him was Black Widow, who was holding a sniper rifle with a silencer. Great. I didn't expect to have the opportunity to fight side by side with you in the desert. It seems that Nick really values Tony Stark. Black Widow was carefully observing the distribution of sentinels in the camp through the telescope in the sniper rifle. It's not Stark that matters, it's Qin that matters. This is obviously to let us bring a rookie, Hawkeye said as he adjusted the small monocular scope on one eye. This must be his standard equipment for long-distance bow and arrow shooting. I'll count to 3, let's start together. 1, 2, 3, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Since Qin Xiao absorbed the super serum, his body senses have become stronger than those of ordinary people. He heard the sound of arrows whizzing through the air. As the sound rang out, he saw the sentinels in the camp in front of him fall to the ground one after another. Some were pierced directly in the throat by arrows, while others had a hole directly opened in their foreheads. It should be that Black Widow and Hawkeye attacked together. In less than 2 seconds, 7 or 8 sentinels, both open and hidden, all fell to the ground. Then, there was a sound of footsteps behind him. Hawkeye ran quickly from behind. As soon as he arrived next to Qin Xiao, Hawkeye immediately drew his bow and arrow, staring at the direction of the camp intently. Then Qin Xiao saw Black Widow running towards this side from the small sand dune like a stream of water. When she got here, she pointed her gun at the camp without saying anything. I'll go to the cave on the left. If anyone comes out, I'll hold them back at any time. Stark should be on the right. I'll leave it to you. Any questions? Hawkeye glanced at Qin Xiao and said. Qin Xiao made an okay gesture. Go, Hawkeye said, and Qin Xiao jumped up from the ground. This shows how cost-effective the elementary fighting skills are. Not only fighting skills, but also the understanding of firearms. Even this kind of hostage rescue mission, although Qin Xiao was doing it for the first time, he looked like he had been trained when he was running and walking. He didn't look like a novice at all. Hawkeye secretly gave Black Widow a thumbs up. An expert knows the doorway. Be as fast as possible, avoid obstacles, and pay attention to the enemies that may appear at any time in front. You can tell whether it is a veteran at a glance. This guy is not bad. Hawkeye threw down a sentence and followed closely behind, running towards the camp. I don't know if it's because they are tight on the outside but loose on the inside, or they are confident in the positions they chose. There are no guards in the cave, only 2 guards at the innermost gate. But at this time, they were all asleep leaning against the big iron gate. Qin Xiao hesitated for a moment, pulled out the pistol with a silencer, pointed it at the 2 men and shot each of them. It was the first time Qin Xiao killed someone, and he originally wanted to use a knife, but after thinking about it, it would be better to use a pistol. I don't know if it was because of the pistol or because he was in a hurry to save people, but Qin Xiao didn't feel any discomfort when killing people with a pistol at a distance of several meters. Chapter 14 Rescue Success. He took the key from the guard and gently opened the iron door. What came into view was a large wooden workbench. It was filled with various tools and metals. In such an environment, a small arc reactor and a set of armor that surpassed technology could be made. He was worthy of being called Iron Man, who was a mortal body comparable to that of a god. Qin Xiao exclaimed. Looking into the cave, 2 simple camp beds were placed on the far right of the cave. 2 people were lying on the camp beds covered with 2 blankets of unknown color. One was Dr. Ethan, who appeared briefly in the movie. The other was Tony Stark, who had transformed into Iron Man. Qin Xiao could see the faint blue light emitted by the arc reactor under the blanket. After all, they had been together for such a long time, and Qin Xiao still had a certain friendship foundation for Tony. Tony Stark, who was usually well-dressed, now looked disheveled. With a little bit of sadness, Qin Xiao gently lifted Tony's blanket. Snap! Just like that, Tony suddenly opened his eyes, and one hand had already grasped Qin Xiao's wrist. As your coach, should I praise you for learning well? Tony Stark's eyes froze, and suddenly burst into surprise. Qin Xiao didn't bother to say anything more, and quickly stood up and turned back, tightly covering Ethan's mouth that was about to open. Shut up, don't scream if you want to live, I'm Tony's friend. Ethan was woken up just now, and the guy's first reaction was to open his mouth and scream. Fortunately, Qin Xiao's reaction was fast enough. God, I never knew that seeing you was such a happy thing. Why are you here?" Tony lowered his voice and said in surprise, "I said I came here to wait for the next subway. Do you believe it?" "Nonsense. Of course I came to save you, my friend, and don't get close to me. I don't want to hug you." "Damn it, Tony, you don't know how bad you smell." Qin Xiao struggled to break free from Tony's embrace, and couldn't help patting the dust off his body. He lowered his voice and said, "The people outside have been dealt with. Now keep your voice down and follow me." At this time, Hawkeye's urging voice came from the headset. "Qin, you need to speed up. There is a monitoring room here, which is aimed at you. I have already dealt with the bastard who got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. It won't take long. Hurry up. There is no time," Qin Xiao said to the two people anxiously. Although Tony was curious about who came with Qin Xiao, he knew that now was not the time to talk nonsense. He stood up and went to the workbench to pick up a stack of drawings, and followed Qin Xiao without hesitation. When Qin Xiao came out with two people, Black Widow had already started to set up some small bombs around, notified Hawkeye to evacuate, and several climbed up to the side close to the cave. Black Widow swept the canyon full of munitions below and said, "You go get the car. I'll be here to guard. If they come out, I'll give them a free firework," Black Widow said with a small remote control in her hand. The situation was urgent just now, and it was dark, so Tony didn't see Hawkeye and Black Widow's appearance clearly. Now he heard Black Widow talking and saw her clearly. "It's you." It seems that Black Widow left a deep impression on Tony in the casino, but Tony was very wise not to ask more questions at this time. Instead, he said to Black Widow with a serious face, "I want to stay with you. The missiles and rifles below are all weapons of Stark Industries. I don't know why they are here, but I want to destroy them myself." Qin Xiao is the one who knows Tony's current mood best among the group. Without waiting for others to speak, he took over the conversation and said, "It's decided. I will stay to protect them, and Ethan will go with Agent Barton to drive." Hawkeye glanced at Qin Xiao and Tony, said nothing, stretched out his hand to greet Ethan, and turned around and left. The three of them found a hidden place to lie down. At this time, the sky has begun to dawn, Qin Xiao said as he looked at the glowing arc reactor on Tony's body. "The tattoo is nice. It can glow. Help me get one when I get back." Tony smiled sadly. He pulled down his clothes and revealed the reactor inside. "This thing is an electromagnet, and there are a bunch of small shrapnel inside that are constantly heading towards my heart. I swear, you won't like this feeling." Not to mention Black Widow. Even Qin Xiao, who knew the inside story, couldn't help but be amazed when he saw such a large piece of metal embedded in a person's chest. "At least you don't have to turn on the desk lamp when you go to the toilet at night in the future." Qin Xiao didn't know how to comfort him, so he could only pat him on the shoulder and said. As soon as the voice fell, a noisy sound came from the camp below. "Don't talk. They found it." Black Widow said that, and the three people looked at the camp in silence. A large group of disheveled terrorists came out of the cave on the left, holding various rifles in their hands, and began to shout loudly around. Black Widow handed the remote detonator to Tony. "Wait a minute. Wait until more of them come out." Tony didn't say anything, but took the detonator and held it tightly in his hand. Obviously, the experience during this period still had a certain psychological shadow on him. After a short while, a bald strong man had already rushed out with his men in anger. After watching the surveillance, he entered the cave where Tony was imprisoned again. After more than a minute, he came out of the cave and stood at the entrance of the cave and loudly issued some kind of order to the people below. "Now," Black Widow said. Almost at the moment when the voice sounded, Tony pressed the switch of the detonator with force. Bang, boom, boom. The small bombs left by Black Widow exploded almost at the same time. Then they detonated a large number of missiles on the ground, as well as grenades, bullets and other ammunition. The violent explosion made the three people hundreds of meters away feel the ground shaking. Countless bullets were driven by the explosion and scattered and exploded in the air. It really seemed like a large-scale fireworks show. At this moment, the sound of car engines rang out behind the three people. Hawkeye watched an off-road vehicle speeding from a distance. "Get in the car quickly. The explosion will attract the attention of the local army and government. Don't cause unnecessary trouble. Let's go." Hawkeye waved at everyone. Tony took a deep look at this place, turned around and followed Qin Xiao into the car. No one noticed that the leader, the bald strong man, he was blown into the cave by the shockwave at the moment of the explosion. Although he was injured, he at least avoided the frontal explosion. When everyone left, he was slowly crawling out of the cave, looking at the dust that everyone drove away, reaching out and taking out a satellite phone from his pants. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Pursuit. From here, head northwest. In half an hour, we will enter Afghanistan. We will be safe then. After driving for more than an hour, Hawkeye stopped the car, looked at the direction, and checked the GPS again. It seems that boom. Black Widow's words were interrupted by an explosion. A violent explosion broke out on the ground less than 3 meters to the left of the off-road vehicle. A large amount of yellow sand was brought up to the sky by the explosion. Left, Hawkeye said, turning the steering wheel violently. Black Widow picked up a telescope and looked to the left. Go, go, go. Damn it. Black Widow's face changed drastically, and she said to Hawkeye anxiously. Hawkeye didn't waste any words, and stepped on the accelerator directly. The engine of the vehicle burst into a piercing roar. No longer caring about the direction, he rushed to the right. Qin Xiao was sharp-eyed and could see a figure in the distance holding an iron pipe in his hand. It should be a single-soldier rocket launcher, and the explosion just now came from it. Of course, a rocket launcher can't threaten this group of people. The scary thing is that behind this person holding the rocket launcher, more than 10 off-road vehicles drove up from the back of the sand dunes. Damn it, how can they come so fast? And there are so many people. Hold on tight. There is no insurance if you fall out of the car now. The chasing vehicles are all open-top off-road vehicles, and almost every car has a terrorist with a rocket launcher standing in it. They started to bombard the vehicles here. Hawkeye's steering wheel almost instantly turned to the left, and the next moment it was the right. The vehicle twisted like a snake, bumping in the desert, with the occasional explosions around him and the yellow sand all over the sky. Qin Xiao suddenly felt that it seemed like a spy movie now. They are coming from the north. The Afghan border is not safe. Contact our people and notify the military to deal with it. Hurry up. Hawkeye drove the car and yelled at Black Widow. I'm already on the phone. Damn bastard. Black Widow held the phone in one hand, and just then a gunshot rang out behind her. A bullet almost grazed her arm and broke the rear-view mirror of the vehicle into pieces. Da. I don't know if their rocket launchers have run out or the hit rate of that thing is too low. All of them set up machine guns on the Jeep. The people in the car couldn't even raise their heads. The clanking sound of bullets hitting the car body never stopped. The other side used heavy machine guns, and the rebounding car couldn't stand such a shooting method. Hawkeye was driving the car and took a moment to look back at Qin Xiao, Tony and the other 3 people. He sighed and said to Black Widow, "You drive. We must fight back." After saying that, regardless of Black Widow's reaction, he stood up and jumped between the 2 front seats. Almost as soon as Hawkeye's voice sounded, Natasha grabbed the steering wheel and moved over with her 2 thighs. It's our turn now, bastards. Hawkeye drew his bow and arrow. No matter how the car bumped, his upper body was almost motionless. Swoosh, an arrow was shot. Qin Xiao saw a huge flame coming out of the car closest to them. A car was taken away by Hawkeye's explosive arrow. The rear window had been shot into a spider web. Keep your head down, Qin Xiao shouted to Tony and Ethan, and punched the glass open. He raised a rifle and aimed it at the back and started shooting. Qin Xiao's shooting skills were average, and it was even harder to hit the target in this situation. But he was not afraid of wasting bullets, and he directly switched to automatic mode, firing one volley after another. This disturbed many of the opponent's machine gunners. At least they didn't dare to stand and shoot so carelessly. Swoosh. Hawkeye, who had aimed for a moment, shot another arrow. Another car turned into a fireball. Swoosh. Another one. Yes, well done, buddy. Seeing Hawkeye sitting down after shooting an arrow, Qin Xiao took the time to praise him. Qin Xiao's interference, plus Hawkeye's 3 arrows knocked down 3 cars. The opponent's vehicles began to control the distance and dared not to press so closely. Their pressure was instantly reduced a lot. They are a little far away. I say you keep going, Cupid. Keep going. There will be 5 or 6 cars in total, Qin Xiao said to Hawkeye, who was sitting down. I want to keep going too, but I don't have any explosive arrows. Also, I'm Hawkeye, not Cupid. Rookie. What do you mean you don't have explosive arrows? The other side is a group of terrorists. We are here to fight. Can't you bring more equipment? Qin Xiao shouted. We are here to save people, not to fight. Rookie. Hawkeye said while checking his quiver. I know you are here to save me, but can you give me a gun too? Mongol warrior. It's not my style to get beaten without fighting back. Tony suddenly interrupted. Damn it, my fucking name is Hawkeye. Don't give people random names. Besides, who said I can't do anything without explosive arrows? As soon as he finished speaking, Hawkeye stood up instantly and took a brief aim. 2 arrows were shot out in succession. 1 arrow hit a machine gunner's head directly, and the other arrow went through the windshield and killed the driver. The car tilted violently and turned over in the desert. See, Rookie, and you, a millionaire. Professional things should be done by professionals. Qin Xiao and Tony looked at each other, and Qin Xiao shrugged. You are right, and you are right to shoot accurately. But why don't you kill the 2 drivers with 2 arrows, so that they can turn over 2 cars? Tony, I think Qin is right. Ethan, yes. Hawkeye. After so much trouble, there were only 2 off-road vehicles left on the opposite side, and there was almost no pressure. Everyone relaxed and waited for Hawkeye to get up and shoot one with 1 arrow. Hawkeye lived up to everyone's expectations and got up and killed one cleanly. When he got up again, bang, Hawkeye fell down almost as soon as he stood up. A bullet was firmly embedded in the right chest of Hawkeye's bulletproof vest. Damn, there are still people. Hawkeye's words seemed to open the horn of the enemy's attack. On the sand dunes in front of the left, almost 20 off-road vehicles suddenly appeared. In an instant, the sound of gunfire became one. A large number of bullets brought up a cloud of yellow sand on the left in front of the vehicle, almost formed several deadly ballistic lines. If the car had not happened to hide on a sand dune, it would have been scrapped in one shot. This is not a solution. Can we let the military come directly? Tony asked while the sand dunes blocked his view. Now it's troublesome. Even if they come directly, it will be difficult for us to survive this period of time. Fortunately, there are many sand dunes in front. Let's climb over them one by one and see if there is a chance to shake them off. Hawkeye pointed to the sand dunes in front and said. Qin Xiao glanced at the continuous sand dunes in front. There were so many pursuers behind, and it was impossible to get rid of them by relying on these few sand dunes. There would definitely not be enough time to wait for support. I remember there are 2 big guys in the car, and I have a plan, Qin Xiao said quietly. Chapter 16. Alone. The Ten Rings gang didn't appear much in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At least that was the case until Qin Xiao traveled through time. As for the comics, Qin Xiao's understanding was limited to the Mandarin and the Ring. But now it seems that the Ten Rings gang should be very powerful in the Middle East. At least that's the case in the Asian region of the Middle East. It's only a short distance from the desert camp where Tony was rescued to Afghanistan. Not only did they encounter the pursuit of 6 fully armed off-road vehicles along the way, and now, they are surrounded by nearly 20 off-road vehicles. Even if there are 2 top agents and Qin Xiao, the super soldier, in the car, they are still suppressed by the opponent's powerful firepower and can't raise their heads at the first time. Not to mention counterattacks. In this case, they will be smashed to pieces by heavy machine guns before they can go far. When they came, in order to prevent accidents and block the pursuers, they installed 2 6-barreled Gatling heavy machine guns on their car. When the car crossed 3 sand dunes in a row, Qin Xiao shouted to stop the car. He jumped out of the car holding a Gatling gun. Qin Xiao held one of the 2 Gatling guns, and Tony set up another on the ground. Hawkeye was still holding a bow and arrow, while Black Widow and Ethan were holding an automatic rifle. After passing these dunes, they can disperse and chase us. This is the last chance. Qin Xiao also lay on the back of the dune, looked up and said to the opposite side, The terrain here can indeed stop the other side for a while, but we can't stop them for long. There are too many people on the opposite side, and our ammunition can't support a few minutes. Hawkeye quickly looked at the ammunition and guns and said, "A few minutes is enough, as long as they stop first." Qin Xiao stared at the sand dune on the opposite side, just waiting for all their cars to cross the sand dune on the opposite side, entering the natural basin between the two sand dunes. That is the time to block them in place. But Natasha took over the words, but before she finished, the roar of vehicles came from the opposite side. One after another, off-road vehicles jumped out of the sand dunes and drove downhill towards this side at a rapid speed. "Get ready." Qin Xiao stared at the vehicles on the opposite side slowly appearing in his sight. When most of the vehicles on the opposite side entered the lowest basin, now, Qin Xiao took the lead in firing. Although everyone didn't know what Qin Xiao was planning, they still fired directly according to Qin Xiao's plan. 2 Gatling guns and 2 automatic rifles. They directly intertwined a barrage of death. In addition, Hawkeye suddenly shot 1 or 2 arrows to knock down several drivers. The off-road vehicles in the basin also reacted one after another. Several vehicles formed a straight line horizontally, and several more vehicles were added behind them, lined up in order. The terrorists on the opposite side could only hide behind 2 vehicles and shoot back. The firepower of the Gatling gun was too strong, and 1 car was not enough to guarantee their safety. "Okay, cease fire." Seeing that the opposite side had directly set up a battle array on the spot, Qin Xiao stretched out his hand to let everyone stop firing. "Pattern. As long as someone on the opposite side wants to drive, you shoot arrows to kill the driver, and if they don't move, you don't move." There were only 5 people here, hiding behind the sand dunes, and from time to time they changed their positions and came out to take a look. As long as someone on the opposite side moves, Hawkeye will shoot an arrow. If there are several people on the opposite side moving, or driving, several guns here will immediately fire together. As expected, the enemy was pinned to the spot. "Is this your plan? We are running out of ammunition. What next?" Black Widow changed a magazine and said, "Next, it depends on my performance. Leave me some supplies. When they move, I will have another round." "You leave immediately." Qin Xiao looked at the people below and said lightly, "No." "Then what can you do?" Tony was the first to jump out and object. Qin Xiao came to save him. Tony couldn't leave him alone in the desert. "He doesn't know, but you should know. If you go first, I have a higher chance of survival. This place is not far from Afghanistan. If you go faster, I can definitely wait for support." Qin Xiao looked at Black Widow and Hawkeye and said. Black Widow and Hawkeye looked at each other. This is indeed the best way at the moment. Drag the opponent here, not to mention the ammunition problem. The key is that no one knows which side's reinforcements will come first. They still don't have enough manpower. If the other side sends another person to kill them from another direction, they will be surrounded by the enemy. "No, I object. We must have other ways." Tony saw that Hawkeye and Black Widow were actually a little moved, so he quickly objected loudly. "Tony, listen to me. Look here." Qin Xiao hooked his finger at Tony. As soon as Tony's eyes came over, Qin Xiao stretched out his hand and chopped Tony's neck diagonally behind. "Damn it, why did you hit me?" Tony asked, covering his face. Qin Xiao was a little embarrassed. He was afraid that he would hit too hard and hurt Tony, so he didn't dare to use force, and ended up embarrassed. That, Qin Xiao scratched his head, but unexpectedly Hawkeye stood up and chopped Tony's neck with a knife. Tony groaned and fell to the ground. "What about you? Do you want to follow me or be knocked out by me?" Qin Xiao glanced at Ethan. "I'll go with them. I'll be obedient." Ethan raised his hands in cooperation. Just now, he saw them chop Tony and he fainted after 2 hits. It looked painful, so it must be swollen. Ethan thought weakly in his heart. At this moment, the 2 cars on the opposite side wanted to drive in another direction and then circle back. The 2 Gatling guns turned fiercely and forced the car back to where it was. Hawkeye also shot the driver of the car with 1 arrow. "Now, you guys hurry up. Quick." Hawkeye didn't say anything, leaned over and picked up the fainted Tony. Black Widow looked at Qin Xiao with some worry. "You look like you don't want to confess to me now. For God's sake, you guys hurry up and get help to find me. Hurry up," Qin Xiao said viciously. and took the opportunity to hit Black Widow's butt. This time Black Widow was not angry, but rolled her eyes at Qin Xiao. "Don't hold on if you can't stand it. Fight them in guerrilla warfare. We will find you." "Yes." Qin Xiao nodded heavily. Later, this group of off-road vehicles came directly from the desert in Iran. The leader was a fat man with a beard. Just now, he commanded the convoy to surround a temporary fortress when they suddenly attacked over the sand dunes. Although the opponent's firepower was fierce, the fat man was not worried at all. Because of their large number of people, the opponent could not bring too much ammunition. This is the desert, their territory, and they would be exhausted to death. But if it dragged on for too long, the fat man was unsure, so he wanted to let two cars break through first. As a result, the Gatling bullets from the opposite side whizzed in as soon as the car started. And the terrible bows and arrows, one arrow can directly take away one person. Damn it, this is not a solution. If it drags on, the American military will take action. The big bearded man slapped the sand on the ground anxiously. As a result, he sent people to bypass it twice, but they were either forced back by the rain of bullets or shot to death by Hawkeye with one arrow. Chapter 17. The breakout of the Ten Rings Gang. This was not a solution, so the bearded man once again designated a more clever terrorist. "You, drive around to the east, lower your head, look in the right direction and step on the accelerator. No need to look at the road." After the unlucky buddy got in the car and prepared, the bearded man called another subordinate to get in the car and prepare. Following the order from the bearded man, the first buddy stepped on the accelerator and the vehicle sped towards the east. As for Qin Xiao, after all the trouble just now, the others had already left. Only Qin Xiao was left to cover the rear. Seeing the opponent's off-road vehicle speeding towards his right, unexpectedly, the opponent tried again so quickly, Qin Xiao cursed inwardly. Resigned to his fate, he picked up the sniper rifle and aimed at the opponent's vehicle. "If I can't hit the person, I don't believe I can't hit the tire," Qin Xiao muttered while aiming at the opponent's front wheel. Bang! A gunshot rang out. Although the opponent was driving with his head down, Qin Xiao still saw a cloud of blood mist bursting out from the back of the driver's neck through the scope. The vehicle lost control and fell to the ground. "This works?" Qin Xiao stared in amazement as he watched the shot he aimed at the tire take out the driver directly. He had to admire his good luck. He was happy for only a second before he secretly said something bad. It turned out that while he was aiming and shooting, another car rushed out from the opposite direction. Qin Xiao didn't think he could have good luck twice in a row. He threw away the sniper rifle and grabbed two Gatling guns on the ground with both hands. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Two crazy flames spit out, and the bullets almost formed a line. The two flames intertwined in the air and directly caught up with the off-road vehicle. Under such abnormal firepower, the off-road vehicle didn't even last 2 seconds. It was directly torn into pieces and then exploded into a big fireball. Qin Xiao then turned the muzzle of the gun and fired directly at their temporary position. This was a warning from Qin Xiao. "Don't move. If you move, I will shoot you to death." Of course, the main reason was that Qin Xiao found that he had not much bullets left, and now all he could do was to delay the enemy as long as possible. The bearded man naturally received a warning, and this time they were silent for more than 10 minutes. In fact, if the bearded man had dispersed the vehicles to chase and intercept them at the beginning, Qin Xiao and his men would have been in trouble. If things went wrong, they would have flipped over, and even if they could win in the end, there would be casualties. However, the Ten Commandments gang had a complicated faction, and this was originally a private job that the bald man took, and the bearded man took action only after receiving his call for help. From the beginning, he had not thought about causing more casualties to his men because of this matter. He had thought about chasing and intercepting them, and if he could catch up, he would catch up, and if he couldn't catch up, he would just give up. But he never expected that Qin Xiao and his men would dare to stop and counterattack, and the firepower was still so fierce. Many of his men died, and the bearded man began to get angry. Just when the bearded man was secretly regretting this trip, his satellite phone rang. "Damn it, you didn't tell me that this group of people were so fierce. Who exactly did you ask me to kill? Many of my men died. You must compensate me." As soon as he opened his mouth, the bearded man began to complain and emphasized his losses. He knew that the bald man had private dealings with some major arms dealers in the United States. If he emphasized his losses, he could ask the bald man for more compensation such as supplies afterwards. But the bald man's next sentence directly made the bearded man furious. "What, Tony Stark? I should have thought of it a long time ago. Damn it. Damn it. You should have told me at the beginning. Attack. Get in the car and disperse to surround the sand dune in front. Get in the car, hurry up." The bearded man hung up the phone directly and finally started to attack with all his strength. Once this side got serious, Qin Xiao couldn't stand it alone. More than a dozen cars scattered in all directions, and Qin Xiao was dumbfounded on the spot. He could only use the two Gatling guns with the strongest firepower in his hand to fiercely aim at the two cars in front. After much effort, two vehicles were destroyed. One of the Gatling guns also stalled and ran out of bullets. The other gun also had very little ammunition left. Looking at the off-road vehicles of the Ten Commandments gang, most of them had already driven onto the surrounding sand dunes, and some had even disappeared. Qin Xiao fired the remaining Gatling gun at the nearest off-road vehicle within his reach. Without even looking at what had happened, he threw the gun to the ground. He moved a few steps to the side, fearing that there were still people hiding underneath, so he blocked a blind spot in his sight. Using his own powerful strength, he dug a small sand pit on the ground. He buried his whole body in it. He pulled off the scarf from his neck and covered his face with it, which could prevent sand from entering his mouth and nose, and also block the reflection on his sunglasses. He covered his face with a thin layer of sand, and used his arms to dig under the sand. He shook the yellow sand above and buried himself as much as possible. The surface may look a bit bumpy, but this is the only way now. I just hope they don't notice me like this at the first time. Just after doing all this, I heard the sound of a car engine. It sounded like two cars arrived here at the same time, and they were just 2 or 3 meters away from me. Just as Qin Xiao imagined, they must have noticed the place where Qin Xiao and his men dropped their guns. Sure enough, after parking the car, they heard their chattering voices. They should be reporting on the intercom that there was no one here. After waiting patiently for the enemy to finish speaking, and waiting for about 10 seconds, Qin Xiao jumped up from the sand pit, bringing up a large pile of yellow sand. The man swung his right hand in midair, and a black knife light passed like a horizontal sword. The head of the terrorist closest to Qin Xiao soared into the sky. Never give them a chance to shoot. With this idea in mind, Qin Xiao fired the pistol with a silencer in his left hand in midair. From the sudden jump to the fall, before the enemy could react, 1 knife, 3 shots, 4 enemies were solved in one breath. There were still 2 left. In order to save time, Qin Xiao had just landed. Another shot rang out, and the other hand directly swung the Tang Dao towards the enemy. This shot was a little off, and hit the enemy's neck. Fortunately, he was killed on the spot, and the Tang Dao, thrown out by Qin Xiao's huge force, directly pierced the forehead of the last person, and sank into the handle. Exclamation mark tilde. Qin Xiao exhaled heavily. 6 people, in addition to being accurate, fast and sudden. It was also because these people came and didn't see the enemy, and put down their weapons, and the surroundings were visible again. It can only be said that the time, place and people are right, otherwise there would be no problem in killing people, as long as they fired a shot. You know, the people around are not far away at this time. Just as Qin Xiao thought, these 2 cars arrived here first. After reporting to the bearded man on the walkie-talkie, the bearded man immediately led his men to chase in the northwest direction. Chapter 18 Mission completed. You know, this place is very close to the border, and there is a U.S. military base in Afghanistan. He didn't believe that a big man like Tony Stark would not have military support. As long as they reached the border, it meant that they would lose Tony Stark, the mobile super arsenal, forever. So when he heard that there was no one here, his first reaction was that they would start to retreat as soon as he went out. He quickly ordered everyone to chase in the northwest direction. Looking at Qin Xiao again, he delayed for more than 10 minutes and wanted to make a phone call to ask Tony if they were out of danger. Unfortunately, the satellite phone left by the Black Widow was hit by a bullet on the ground at some point. It should be that the 2 cars in front of them just now fired a few shots at this side. What a damn bad luck. Qin Xiao gritted his teeth, sent the Buddha to the west, got on an off-road vehicle, and drove at full speed to chase in the northwest direction. First look at the bearded man, and received a report from his men. A group of vehicles sped towards the northwest. After driving for 4 or 5 minutes, the bearded man's phone rang again. I don't know who called this time. The bearded man looked serious after answering the phone. He said directly on the intercom, "Retreat. The target has been picked up by the U.S. military. Retreat immediately." In the desert, more than a dozen vehicles turned around at the same time and began to retreat along the path they came from. As for Qin Xiao, although he heard the words on the car intercom, they were speaking some kind of Arab language. Qin Xiao couldn't understand a word of it. Fortunately, the system prompt sounded in time. "Congratulations to the host. The mission to save Tony Stark has been completed, and the reward points are 1,000. Congratulations to the host. You have made friends with the first-generation Avengers Hawkeye and left a deep impression on him, and you have obtained 500 points. Congratulations to the host. Black Widow's favorability towards you has greatly increased, and you have obtained 200 points. Congratulations to the host. Iron Man's favorability towards you has greatly increased, and you have obtained 200 points. Congratulations to the host. Hawkeye's favorability towards you has greatly increased, and you have obtained 100 points. The prompts sounded one after another, and the mission was completed. I didn't expect that I would have to get points to further my relationship with the key figures. This should be considered a hidden reward. This can also be regarded as living and dying together. Sure enough, the favorability is refreshed quickly. I just don't know why Hawkeye is only 100. Is it because he is not as familiar with them, or because Hawkeye's presence is relatively weak? But now Qin Xiao has no time to think so much, because the mission has been completed, and there is no need to chase the people of the Ten Rings gang behind him. If he moves forward, he may still meet them. Although Qin Xiao is now a super soldier and is still wearing a protective suit produced by the system, but he is not immortal. If he is hit in the head by a large caliber bullet or encounters a large-scale hot weapon, such as a few rockets, Qin Xiao will not be able to bear it. He can fight desperately, but it is not worth the risk to take unnecessary risks. There is no way. He can only avoid them first and wait for Tony and others to rescue him. It would be fine if the satellite phone was not broken. After a little thought, Qin Xiao immediately turned around and drove in the direction he came from. On the other side, the big bearded man who had already started to retreat felt more and more wrong. Because the number of vehicles did not match, he clearly looked at the number at the beginning. In the end, he specially observed that except for the 2 vehicles that were blown up in the front, there should be no casualties later. But if the front was blown up, how did they escape from their blockade? It doesn't make sense that after chasing for a long time, he was directly rescued by the U.S. military. If it was such a person, he should have met an American. The more he thought about it, the more wrong it was. Combined with the archer in the opponent's team at the beginning, there seemed to be only gunshots in the last wave, and the archer was never seen again. No, we were fooled. They left someone behind to cover us. Otherwise, the number of vehicles would not match. The 2 vehicles that passed by might have been attacked by them. Damn it. So many men died, so much effort was spent, and nothing was gained. He was actually fooled by others. The bearded man became angrier and angrier as he thought about it. He directly picked up the walkie-talkie and gave orders to his men. Qin Xiao had no idea that the bearded man had started to hunt him in the desert. He just went in the direction he came from with an attitude of risk avoidance. In Qin Xiao's view, no matter when the support people arrived, but during the insurance period, he still went all the way back, and when he was almost gone, he would go directly south to Pakistan. As long as he entered the city of Pakistan, he would be completely safe. But Qin Xiao overlooked one thing. The bald man who kidnapped Tony had his camp in Pakistan. Although the camp had been wiped out by them, the bald man was not dead, and he had more than one team nearby. Qin Xiao didn't know about all this, including the various forces and the Ten Commandments gang. He only knew that the mission had been completed. He had gained so many points for nothing. The total points had reached 3,000. There were only 2,000 points left before the opening of the level 2 mall. The car had plenty of gas, and he found a pack of cigarettes in it. He was happily holding a cigarette and driving south. As he was driving, he suddenly found a small black dot in front of him. It looked like a person. One person naturally didn't pose much of a threat to Qin Xiao, so Qin Xiao drove towards this person carelessly. Who knew this person heard the sound of the car engine and turned back to Qin Xiao and made a gesture to hitchhike. "You are so brave. You dare to stop a car that is obviously an armed group in such a chaotic place." Qin Xiao glanced at the heavy machine gun on the frame of the car, and couldn't help but admire the man's courage from the bottom of his heart. Thinking about the vast desert, the pursuers behind might not be able to catch up with him. And if he left this person here, if the terrorists behind saw him, they would inevitably kill civilians to vent their anger. With the idea of doing good deeds every day, Qin Xiao handsomely stopped the SUV with a dragon-like tail swing. He stopped beside the traveler. "How is it? Want a ride?" The traveler was wearing baggy suit pants and a blue shirt with sleeves rolled up on both sides. He had a dirty scarf wrapped around his face to block the wind and sand, and he looked very miserable. Seeing Qin Xiao stop the car, the man was very happy and pulled the scarf off. "Can you take me to the nearest town?" "Thank you." The man showed an honest smile, but Qin Xiao, seeing the man's face clearly, was like seeing a ghost. "It's you?" Chapter 19, Encounter with the Hulk. When Tony Stark woke up, he was already lying in the U.S. military base. When he opened his eyes, he saw Rod's familiar face. "How does the happy Hummer taste, Tony? Remember to ride with me next time, okay?" Rod said with a smile. God knows how much pressure he has been under in the past month. "Rod." Tony smiled knowingly and hugged his good friend. "Qin, by the way, where is Qin?" Suddenly, as if he thought of something, Tony's face changed drastically, and he pushed Rod away and asked. Looking around the room, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and even Ethan were in the room. Only Qin Xiao was missing. Combined with the situation before he fell into a coma, Tony didn't know what happened. "Rod, go save people. Qin is left alone to cover the retreat. Go save him." Rod obviously knew what happened. He had also heard Tony talk about Qin Xiao. But for Tony's talk of saving people, "I'm sorry, Tony, if they are sure, the military can take risks for you. But I'm sorry about your friend, Tony. He saved me. He saved me. I can't leave him alone there." Tony Stark stood up and said excitedly, "Tony, listen to me. This is a border issue. We can't rush directly into the border of a non-allied country for one person. I have submitted the application form. I believe that the higher-ups will communicate with them soon." Rhodes also stood up and held Tony's arm to comfort him. "Wait for you to submit the application. The higher-ups will communicate. It will take at least several days. I know the morals of those people. After all, the one in danger now is not the famous Tony Stark, but an unknown person, right?" "Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes," Hawkeye said sarcastically, although he knew that Rhodes was also very helpless. But no matter who it was for, Qin Xiao was alone to cover the rear and let everyone go first. "Do you have any good ideas? If I remember correctly, you are agents, right? You should have some special means or something." Tony looked at Hawkeye. "The military plane refused our transfer, but our own Quinjet is on the way and it is estimated to arrive in 20 minutes, Black Widow said lightly. At that time, Qin Xiao did have the greatest chance of survival, but this does not mean that Black Widow is not worried at all. It's just that after Black Widow and Hawkeye showed their credentials, the commander of the base refused to provide them with a plane. There was no way. They immediately contacted the nearest intelligence department of SHIELD and urgently dispatched a Quinjet. It has been almost an hour since they left Qin Xiao. Even if Qin Xiao is a super soldier, Black Widow began to worry. Qin Xiao, he didn't know the situation on Tony's side. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care much at this time, because the appearance of this person in front of him directly made his brain fall into a state of shutdown. "Is it you?" A surprised cry. The traveler showed a bit of surprise and confusion on his face, and more of panic. "Do you know me? Do you know me?" Qin Xiao definitely knows me, but he never thought he would meet him in this place. "When I was in college, there was a picture of you on the wall of the laboratory, hanging together with Marie Curie. Dr. Bruce Banner, it's an honor to meet you here." Qin Xiao opened the door and got out of the car, and threw a bottle of water to Banner. "Drink some water. It looks like you must have run out of supplies." While talking to Dr. Banner, Qin Xiao looked behind to see if anyone was catching up. In his heart, He was desperately searching for the movie The Incredible Hulk that he had watched a long time ago. The timeline of Marvel's movies is only a rough outline. For example, the plot of the final battle between Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk should be in 2008, but I don't know which one is before and which one is after. Qin Xiao remembered that Bruce Banner had just transformed into the Hulk and got rid of General Ross's pursuit. The first time he fled was to Brazil, where he met a teacher who taught him to control his heartbeat. Later, in order to meet Mr. Lan, who communicated online, he ventured back to the United States. Finally, he disappeared after the battle with the Abomination. According to the later plot, he should have gone to the Arctic Circle to attempt suicide, and finally appeared in India in the Avengers. It seems that the battle with the Abomination has passed. This period of time should be the middle journey of Banner to India after the suicide attempt. I just didn't expect to meet him here. After roughly sorting out the timeline in his mind, Qin Xiao continued to speak. Do you want a ride, Doctor? Don't worry, I'm not a bad guy. My car is broken. I bought this car from an armed man for $30,000. You know, this is the Middle East. Qin Xiao shrugged and said as easily as possible, it's not that he has to take Bruce Banner with him, it's just that the two just met, and the system issued a new task. Gain Bruce Banner's trust, become his friend, and help him get rid of the military's tracking system. I am involved in the conflict between Banner and the military now. Am I too weak? Should I leave this mission for later? Qin Xiao wondered in his mind. This system will only randomly issue tasks based on the people and things the host currently encounters, and will not force the host to complete them. However, the Marvel world is full of dangers. The more points the host gets, the earlier the host can unlock them all and gain more powerful power. Although as the system said, his mission was very Buddhist and there was no punishment. But the points really helped him a lot. Qin Xiao gritted his teeth and accepted the mission. At worst, he would just protect himself first. Anyway, there was no time limit. So Qin Xiao got out of the car directly and casually explained why he was driving an armed vehicle. Because he knew that Banner was quite resistant to the American military. This was also one of the reasons why he chose to come to Asia. Compared with America and Europe, Asia is undoubtedly the place where the United States has the weakest influence. After hearing Qin Xiao's words, Bruce Banner looked embarrassed. The weapons in Qin Xiao's car did give him pressure. It was not that he was afraid of what others would do to him, but that he was afraid that he would cause casualties to others after his transformation. But if he doesn't get in the car, he doesn't have many supplies in the desert. If his body can't bear it anymore, he will automatically transform. Chapter 20 Dr. Banner's Grievance. After hesitating for a while, Dr. Banner finally chose to get on the car. He returned to the United States from South America, and ran from the United States to the Middle East after defeating the Abomination. Unexpectedly, he was caught up by someone in the chaotic Middle East. He had no choice but to go to Asia. He had run out of options. And after getting an injection from Mr. Lan, plus the breathing method he learned in Brazil, he can basically control his emotions and heartbeat perfectly. He won't transform easily. Besides, Qin Xiao doesn't look like a military man. It's true that Qin Xiao is not a military man, but Dr. Banner never expected it. Qin Xiao, who looks to be in his early 20s and gentle, is in no less trouble than him now, at least in this desert. Dr. Banner, why are you alone in this desert? And it looks, I mean, you know, it's very dangerous. The two unfamiliar people didn't speak. The atmosphere was a bit awkward, and Qin Xiao began to chat casually. I encountered some not so good things. It's better for you not to know. I always bring misfortune to others, Banner said with memories in his eyes. I think you are too pessimistic. There is a saying that goes, when fate plays tricks on you, never think it is your fault. Fate, Banner muttered to himself with lifeless eyes, lowered his head and stopped talking. The two drove in silence in the desert. More than 10 minutes later, rolling yellow sand rose to the left, right and back of Qin Xiao. 4 or 5 fully armed off-road vehicles from 3 directions quickly surrounded the middle. It was obvious that they were coming for his car. What happened? Who are these people? Are they your companions? Dr. Banner turned around and looked around, and asked anxiously. No, I don't have any companions here. Sit tight. Qin Xiao stepped on the accelerator hard, and the engine of the off-road vehicle roared. and it accelerated forward. Dr. Banner did not think that these people were coming for him, but it was obvious that they were not Americans, and Qin Xiao's performance looked like he was running away. "Are you sure they are not your companions?" "Damn, their cars are exactly the same as ours," Dr. Banner said while fastening his seatbelt. "Doctor, you are a scientist. Do you know that there is a saying that you can see the essence through the surface?" Qin Xiao turned the steering wheel fiercely, because several enemy cars appeared in front of him on the right. "Then let's talk about the essence. Why did so many people suddenly appear? It seems that they are here to arrest us. This is the Middle East. Doctor, don't ask why. And they are here to arrest me. Congratulations, you can try the taste of others bringing you misfortune." "Oh, fuck." Qin Xiao turned the steering wheel again, because many enemies appeared on the other side, and there were many convoys in front, and several cars were divided to block the only gap. At this time, English with a strong accent came from the intercom in the car. "Stop immediately, otherwise we will concentrate our firepower to smash you." As if to verify his words, as soon as the voice fell, he saw that the surrounding vehicles set up the heavy machine guns on the car and aimed at Qin Xiao's car. The surrounding vehicles were getting closer and closer. At least more than 20 off-road vehicles surrounded Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao sighed and stepped on the brakes resignedly. "Remember to cooperate with me, doctor." After stopping the car, Qin Xiao said lightly. "Cooperate? How can I?" Dr. Banner hadn't finished speaking. He saw Qin Xiao raised his hands high and shouted loudly at the terrorists around him. "It's none of my business. I don't know anything. I'm just a student traveling in the desert. It was this guy who forced me to drive for him. I don't know him at all and don't know what happened." Dr. Banner, WTF? What happened? Dr. Banner was a little confused. The other party's vehicles also stopped. At least dozens of soldiers with real guns and live ammunition surrounded the two of them, and Qin Xiao said something like that again. It's not what he said. "I don't know him. I'm a traveler. I just take a ride." Dr. Banner looked at Qin Xiao a little angry. "He's lying. Who would choose to take a ride in a car with a heavy machine gun hanging on it, in the desert? Look at me. I'm just a college graduate. Look at this guy." The group of terrorists around the vehicle looked at Qin Xiao, who was still clean and tidy. Then they looked at Dr. Banner, who was in tatters and obviously had been through a battle. Most of the guns were turned towards Dr. Banner. Just as Banner was about to say something, a soldier came up and hit him on the head with the butt of a gun. "Don't talk nonsense. Get out of the car quickly, and raise your hands." Banner, who was dizzy from being hit, took a deep breath desperately, but when he looked up, he saw Qin Xiao actually winking at him mischievously. He was even angrier, but the terrorists outside didn't care about that and violently pulled the two people out of the car. Dozens of rifles surrounded the two people. The crowd parted, and a bearded man walked out leisurely. "You two killed so many of my people and let Tony Stark escape from my hands?" Tony Stark, the billionaire who was said to be kidnapped. Dr. Banner felt his head buzzing. "Who can tell me what happened?" But Qin Xiao shouted first. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I don't know anything. I don't know any Tony Stark at all. I'm just a fresh graduate. I'm Chinese. I was forced to drive for him by this man." Dr. Banner was interrupted again. The bearded man pulled out a large caliber pistol and pointed it at his head. "Shut up. I won't let you speak now." Alas, Dr. Banner sighed aggrievedly. "Are you Chinese?" The bearded man turned to Qin Xiao and asked. Yeah. Qin Xiao nodded desperately, with an innocent look on his face. "You said he kidnapped you and threatened you to help him drive?" The bearded man asked. "Yes, that's right. He said I'm Chinese and he'll be safer in Pakistan with me." "You're lying." "I'm the one." Banner spoke for the third time, and was still greeted by a rifle butt. "Shut up. I didn't ask you. You're not allowed to talk. I won't repeat it again. Do you understand?" The bearded man lowered his body and spoke rudely to Dr. Banner. Banner was still desperately taking deep breaths. For the first time in his life, he had the urge to release the Hulk and beat the kid to death. Here is the second chapter. "Today is my birthday. I'm going to go out for a stroll during the day and continue when I come back at night. There is still one chapter, so it may be a little late." Readers who see this, it's my birthday. Don't you want to give a good review and click on the reminder? or see a small advertisement or something. Chapter 21 Hulk goes raging. Although he thought so in his heart, Dr. Banner still tried his best to resist the appearance of Hulk. You know, before the Avengers appeared, Banner was extremely resistant to Hulk. Seeing that Banner didn't speak, the bearded man nodded and walked towards Qin Xiao again. He still believed what Qin Xiao said in his heart. After all, he looked thin and gentle. He was extremely scared when he was pointed at with a gun. You, tell me in detail how you two met, what he said to you. Tell me every detail. The bearded man wanted to confirm whether Banner was the one who rescued Tony Stark. Anyway, Tony Stark has run away now, and it would be good if he could catch their people and exchange them for some benefits. He has coveted the sophisticated weapons of the bald man for a long time. With this purpose, he became softer when talking to Qin Xiao. Can you put the gun away first? Qin Xiao said cautiously with a terrified face. Of course, as long as you. The bearded man had just moved the muzzle of the gun away and had only said half of his words. Qin Xiao's eyes suddenly changed, and his right hand stretched out like lightning. He held the bearded man's hand holding the gun, and pressed his thumb hard on his knuckles. In an instant, he took the bearded man's pistol in his hand. He directly took the leader of the other party as a hostage. Get out of the way, all of you. Qin Xiao held the bearded man hostage and kept threatening the terrorists around him, forcing them to make way. At least he ensured the safety of his back. In fact, if he had captured the king first at the beginning, Qin Xiao would have been sure to win the battle head-on. But Dr. Banner happened to be here, and he was not sure about facing the angry Hulk in the desert. He could only use this relatively safer method. Who knew he had just kidnapped the bearded man? The voice of the system in his mind sounded again. Special mission released. Gain the trust of the Hulk and initially gain his friendship. After completing the mission, you will receive a copy of the Hulk's mutation potion. Improved version. Hulk mutation potion. Improved version. Gain 30% of Hulk's strength, defense, self-healing and repairability, and avoid negative effects such as transformation and loss of reason and anger. P.S. With 30% of Hulk's strength, but without many negative effects, the host can both establish a good reputation and be a bitch at ease. You deserve it, your uncle. The system's words made Qin Xiao burst out a swear word from his mind. What does it mean to be a bitch and establish a good reputation at ease? You are the bitch. Your whole family is a bitch. First of all, I don't have an uncle, and I don't have any family. The host doesn't need to do these meaningless anger. Just say whether you want it or not. Say it out loud. Do you want it or not? Damn, I was teased by the system. But yes, of course. If the reward is this, then this risk is definitely worth taking. It's simply the law of true fragrance. This special mission directly made Qin Xiao change his strategy. Originally, I wanted to tease Dr. Banner and escape safely, but now the approach is different. Damn, your acting is good. It was you who rescued Tony Stark. The bearded man still thought that Banner and Qin Xiao were in the same group, but this is not the United States. You can't get out of this desert even if you catch me. We are freedom fighters. We are not afraid of death, the bearded man said hatefully. Really? Qin Xiao smiled, looking at Dr. Banner who had stood up and came to his side. He said faintly, you are not afraid of death. Then are you afraid of the big green monster that can punch you into a meat pie? Big green monster? How do you know? The bearded man and Banner spoke almost at the same time. Qin Xiao ignored the bearded man's words, but looked at Dr. Banner and said seriously, Doctor, I can help you get rid of the harassment of the military, but now, I need that big green guy to come out. Bang! As soon as the voice fell, Qin Xiao shot directly at Dr. Banner's chest without hesitation. You! Banner looked incredulous. He uttered a word with difficulty, and then slowly fell backwards to the ground. What did you do? You killed your partner? The bearded man also said in surprise, but Qin Xiao didn't have time to explain anything to him at this moment. He just whispered in his ear, didn't you say you are not afraid of death? Then I wish you good luck. As soon as the voice fell, Qin Xiao pushed the bearded man hard towards the place where Banner fell. He turned around and ran back. A puff of smoke ran out for more than 10 or 20 meters, and the terrorists around him reacted one after another. Two people hurriedly helped the bearded man up, and the others pointed their guns directly at Qin Xiao in the distance. But before they could shoot, A beast-like roar sounded. Roar! The corpse on the ground suddenly turned into a huge green monster. It stood up from the ground suddenly, more than 2 meters tall. The muscles on the body looked harder than steel. The bearded man's head was still in his hand. The originally burly bearded man, in his hands, seemed as weak as a doll. With that earth-shaking roar, the green giant grabbed the bearded man and smashed the SUV next to him. He actually smashed the entire hood of the SUV into a dent. He smashed the hood of the SUV and the engine inside into scrap metal with his flesh and blood. 70 to 80% of the bearded man's bones were shattered. He was almost smashed into a pulp and was about to die. The people around him reacted one after another. They subconsciously raised their guns and fired wildly at the monster. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Dozens of guns were aimed at Hulk at the same time, and bullets poured wildly on Hulk's body. Unfortunately, even Hulk's skin could not be broken at all. Bang! As soon as he came out, he was attacked wildly, and Hulk went into a state of rampage. He kicked a terrorist hundreds of meters away with one kick, then he directly swung the broken SUV. He aimed the camera horizontally at the crowd. The crowd had not dispersed completely yet. At least 3 or 4 people were beaten into pulp. For a moment, it was a bloody mess with bullets flying everywhere. Those terrorists of the Ten Commandments gang who claimed to be fearless of death were already screaming crazily and running away in all directions. Those who were a little less courageous shouted devil and collapsed on the ground, facing the ferocious Hulk. They didn't even have the strength to get up and run away. Chapter 3 is here, although it's a little late. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, Making Friends with Hulk. If you don't see it with your own eyes, you don't know how powerful the Hulk is. Even compared to the comics, the Hulk in the movie has been weakened thousands of times. But before the father-level figure appeared, the Hulk was basically an unstoppable existence. The violent power contained in the punches and kicks made Qin Xiao, who was hiding far behind a sand dune, feel palpitations. In front of such a violent Hulk, Qin Xiao felt that as a super soldier, there was no difference between himself and those terrorists of the Ten Rings gang. If there is any difference, it is just the difference between 1 punch and 2 punches. System. This task is a bit perverted. I feel like I've been hammered to death before I even opened my mouth to speak, right? Looking at the distance Hulk directly squeezing a person's head into a bloody mist, Qin Xiao swallowed hard. You can't see the rainbow without going through the storm. If you can't even handle this mission, host, then I'll send you back to be a social animal and slowly work to pay off your debts, and live a miserable life. Your uncle, you despise me again. Why do the systems that other people travel through often give 100 times rebate for consumption, or they can automatically upgrade by eating and sleeping? Why is it so difficult for me? Not only are the tasks given to me perverted, but I also make personal attacks on my host from time to time. Complaining is complaining. The mission still needs to be done, and the rewards are indeed very attractive. The group of people from the Ten Commandments gang below were killed by Hulk in a few strokes. The rest were either scared or ran away madly. Seeing that many people were killed, most of the cars were smashed to pieces. I guess Hulk should be a little calmer now. Qin Xiao made up his mind and stood out from behind the sand dunes. Hulk! Qin Xiao greeted Hulk enthusiastically. His smile was like a village girl standing at the entrance of the village and seeing her lover coming back. The difference may be that there is no floral handkerchief swaying in the wind. Roar! Unfortunately, Hulk didn't understand this kind of sentiment. He roared and jumped from a distance and hit Qin Xiao heavily. Then he punched Qin Xiao without saying a word. When Hulk rushed over, the pressure almost made Qin Xiao turn around and dodge subconsciously. He managed to stabilize his body. Who knew a fist as big as a casserole would hit him directly? So irritable. Punch first. Do you think you are away? Qin Xiao muttered in his heart, and quickly dodged Hulk's fist. He said loudly, "Wait, Hulk, I'm not in the same group with them. I have no ill intentions. I just want to talk to you about something." Hey, I know you don't really want to hurt others. You always can't help but get angry and cause damage, right? I have a good way. Qin Xiao dodged Hulk's fist while quickly saying that he had heard Hulk's complaints in Thor: Ragnarok 3, hoping to impress Hulk a little. Maybe it was because of Banner's remaining impression that Hulk felt that Qin Xiao was indeed different from the group that shot and attacked him, or maybe Qin Xiao's words played a certain role, and Hulk's third fist stopped in midair. In the movie of The Incredible Hulk, Banner should have some sense of memory sharing with Hulk. It may not be comprehensive, but it does exist. However, in the later Avengers, Hulk and Banner's memories seem to have become non-interference. Here, they take the middle ground, and have a very vague impression of the people and things that each other has come into contact with. Qin Xiao exhaled a long breath. I'm not your enemy, Hulk. I want to be your friend. Can we have a good chant? Qin Xiao held his heart and stretched out his hands to indicate that he had no hostility towards Hulk. Friend? Hulk said the word vaguely. Then, bang, a very sudden punch was thrown, and Qin Xiao was directly hit more than 20 meters away. Just as he landed, a piece of yellow sand was smashed. Hulk jumped to Qin Xiao's side. He stretched out a pair of strong arms and held Qin Xiao alive in his hands. The solution: tell Hulk, otherwise Hulk will tear you apart. Just when Qin Xiao thought he was dead, Hulk spoke to Qin Xiao. There are many bad people in this world, even some monsters that are different from ordinary people. Of course, I'm not talking about you. I like your skin color. I mean, for example, Abomination, the ugly guy you fought in New York. Do you remember? Being able to communicate is a good start, Qin Xiao said happily. Hulk remembers that he was very strong, but he was still defeated by Hulk. Roar. Hulk's behavior was 3 parts childish and 3 parts beastly. Speaking of the act of defeating Sang-Yi, he roared to the sky, feeling like a male beast announcing his achievements. Hey, big guy, you can roar, but can you put me down first? You are strangling me to death. Hulk subconsciously used some strength with both hands when he roared, and almost strangled Qin Xiao to death. Hulk forgot. You are too weak. Hulk hasn't even used his strength yet, Hulk said as he loosened his hands holding Qin Xiao. Cough cough. Qin Xiao coughed twice and straightened his clothes. Not everyone is as strong as you, Hulk. You should learn to control your strength. Hulk's strength is very strong. Why should you control it? You said there are monsters and bad guys. Where are they? Take Hulk to fight them. Hulk lowered his head and roared loudly at Qin Xiao, and the sound made Qin Xiao's ears buzz. I have to find the monsters and bad guys first? Hulk, we need some intelligence. The bad guys won't automatically appear in front of us. Take Hulk to find them. Go now. Another roar. No. The bad guys are far away. We need to take a plane. Do you know what a plane is? Hulk is too big to take a plane. You have to turn into Banner first. Plane. Hulk muttered. I don't know if he remembered some bad memories, such as the helicopter that the military attacked him. Hulk hates planes, and Hulk hates Banner even more. Hulk, don't turn into Banner, don't. Hulk clenched his fists again, and he was about to go berserk again. I know. Listen to me. I don't like Banner either. That guy is very picky about words when he speaks. Very annoying. But we need Banner's help, right? Whether it's looking for bad guys or going out, Banner is more convenient than Hulk, right? Just like facing a bear child who doesn't know the world. Qin Xiao slowly began to try to talk to Hulk about some principles and conditions. The first chapter is here. There will be another chapter in the afternoon and evening. Chapter 23. Nick Fury. Although Nick Fury always looks like he is the only one who can save the world, and he also hides too many unknown secrets, but he still has a very outstanding advantage. That is, he is decisive and dares to take responsibility. After receiving the report from Hawkeye and Black Widow, I don't know what means Nick Fury used, or what deal he reached. Soon, a Quinjet landed at the U.S. military base in Afghanistan. Along with the pilot came a pass that allowed entry to Pakistan. Of course, it was limited to this plane of S.H.I.E.L.D., and military soldiers were prohibited from entering. Black Widow and Hawkeye had to follow. Of course, Rhodes originally stopped Tony Stark, but Tony was too determined. In addition, there were indirect attacks from Black Widow and Hawkeye. In the end, Rhodes had no choice but to follow. Along the way, Hawkeye drove the pilot directly out of the driver's seat. He forcibly turned the Quinjet fighter into a helicopter style. It was almost a close-to-the-ground investigation along the desert. Finally, traces of the bearded convoy were found, and they followed to the place where Qin Xiao was stopped. What on earth happened here? As soon as they got off the plane, a group of people were shocked by the scene in front of them and were speechless. The traces of Hulk's battle were simply a disaster scene. Broken limbs, off-road vehicles dismantled into parts, and bullet shells all over the ground. All of these meant that some brutal battles had taken place in this place. Tony, was this done by your fighting teacher? Are you sure he needs us to rescue him? Rhodes looked at everything in front of him, his face full of shock. This doesn't look like Qin then left it. It looks more like King Kong has been here. Black Widow was also confused. Others may not know what the destructive power of the super soldier is, but S.H.I.E.L.D. knows it very well. The physical data of Captain America after the successful transformation has been kept by Peggy Carter and Howard Stark. It is still in the secret files of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hey, I'm here. When everyone was speculating in their hearts what happened, Qin Xiao didn't know when he got out from the back of a sand dune. He waved to everyone. Seeing Qin Xiao coming out, several people hurriedly ran towards the sand dune. After finally getting on the dune, they saw Qin Xiao, who was acting as if nothing had happened, and a man was lying on the ground behind the dune, a naked man. Did you find true love here? Tony was in a good mood when he saw Qin Xiao was fine, and he smiled and teased. But when Black Widow and Hawkeye saw Bruce Banner, their faces changed immediately. Bruce Banner? Qin, how could he be here? Did you knock him out? I'm not talking about the one on the ground. No, I did see him. I just made friends with him. Qin Xiao smiled slightly and said to Black Widow. Qin Xiao was in a very good mood at the moment. The mission had been successfully completed. If Black Widow and the others hadn't come, he had already drunk the bottle of green glowing serum in his pocket. God knows how much saliva he spent to deal with Hulk. Not only did he promise him to take him to fight monsters, but he also had to promise him that Dr. Banner would let him out for a walk from time to time. If Banner doesn't agree to you, just kill him and I can come out. Remember, don't lie to Hulk, otherwise I'll tear you apart. This was the last sentence that Hulk, the naughty kid, said to Qin Xiao. Originally, he came here to save Tony, but he didn't expect to get Banner in the end. For a nuclear weapon level figure like Hulk, S.H.I.E.L.D. naturally didn't dare to let him go back on a military plane. So Tony could only go back with Rhodes, and the others chose to fly back to the United States directly in a Quinjet fighter. Nick Fury was waiting to see Qin Xiao at a secret base. Qin, let's talk after we go back and have a drink. Tony had a lot of questions about Qin Xiao, but he also knew that this was not the place to talk. He told Qin Xiao before leaving, go back and check your body. Qin Xiao smiled slightly, knocked on the reactor on Tony's chest and smiled. New York, as one of the largest cities in the world, it is also a famous city of destruction in American movies, a gathering place for superheroes and villains. How could there be no S.H.I.E.L.D. branch in this city? But no one knows, except for the obvious distribution. Nick Fury has a secret base here. This secret base, which few people in S.H.I.E.L.D. know about, is actually under the Hudson River. Following Hawkeye and Black Widow, they entered an abandoned subway pipe from the subway line. After turning around for a long time, they entered an abandoned sewer pipe, and then went around several times. They finally entered this secret base through a hidden portal. This place is close to the estuary of the Hudson River. In the lobby of the base, Qin Xiao even saw a huge floor-to-ceiling window. In the bottom of the Hudson River was outside. Not only can you see the river water, Qin Xiao can also see several freshwater fish flowing along the river. Standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window is director Liu Dan from Marvel. He is standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with his classic cool posture, leaving people with a bald back of his head. Aren't you afraid that this base will be discovered? Not only is the window open, but there is also an underwater searchlight outside. Qin Xiao ignored the cool Liu Dan, but asked through the floor-to-ceiling window. First of all, from the outside, this is just a cement slab. You can ask your good friend Stark for technical questions. As for the lighting, there are many reasons to explain. Nick Fury turned slowly. He stared at Qin Xiao with one eye, reached out and picked up a stack of documents from the desk and threw them to Qin Xiao. The most important point is that it is us, not you. Welcome to join S.H.I.E.L.D., Mr. Qin, the super soldier. Qin Xiao took the document and opened it. It was his own information, and the identity given to him by S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent, Trainee Agent. Am I reading it right? As far as I know, your agents have levels 1 to 10, and the director is the only level 10. I never knew there was such a thing as an intern. This is a new position created for you by Director Fury. The report shows that there is no problem with your position, but your personality is not very suitable for working in the intelligence department. We need to observe for a while. Black Widow came to Qin Xiao and explained. What report? Psychological assessment and personality analysis report. In addition, this report was written by me. Black Widow took the document from Qin Xiao's hand with a smile and formally introduced Qin Xiao. Nick Fury, Director of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Agency, my boss, and of course yours in the future. Chapter 2. There is another chapter at 8:30 p.m. Chapter 24 Hulk Serum. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes helplessly and said lazily, "Hello, Director, I want to ask you, when we came in just now, you were standing in front of the French window like this." Qin Xiao made the same pose as Nick Fury just now, with his back to everyone and his hands behind his back. "Have you been standing here in this pose waiting for us, or do you have some surveillance system hidden here, and you suddenly put on this cold look when we arrived at the door?" Nick Fury. In short, the meeting with Nick Fury was generally pleasant. Secondly, when letting Qin Xiao join S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury didn't want him to enter S.H.I.E.L.D. normally. Instead, he used a certificate to restrain Qin Xiao first, ensuring that Qin Xiao would be the first to join when the Avengers plan started in the future. As for Dr. Banner, after a preliminary communication with Nick Fury, he used his own private resources to place him in a mountain forest in northern Canada. There was no one there, and the scenery was beautiful. Even if he turned into the Hulk, there was enough space for him to go out and have fun from time to time. Nick Fury provided a laboratory there for Dr. Banner to continue his research. A large number of S.H.I.E.L.D. personnel were also placed outside to ensure that Dr. Banner would not be disturbed by others, or it was also to ensure that Hulk would not go out to disturb others. After resolving the dispute with S.H.I.E.L.D., Qin Xiao did not return to Los Angeles to find Tony. Instead, he found a hotel in New York to stay. He planned to take the Hulk serum first. He had consulted the system before, and the process of taking the serum would only cause slight pain. However, it may be accompanied by transformation, and the body will excrete a large amount of impurities, blood and even bone marrow. Sitting in the round bathtub, the clean Qin Xiao picked up a small bottle of fluorescent green liquid next to him. Hulk Super Serum. How can this color look like a biological weapon in the movie? Qin Xiao muttered a few words in his heart, opened the bottle, raised his head, and drank it all up. Huh? It seems that there is no reaction. Before the voice fell, Qin Xiao suddenly let out a miserable scream. It felt like a C4 explosive was detonated in the body. It was as if the whole person was severely crushed by a hydraulic press, and all the muscles, bones and internal organs of the body were crushed into pieces in an instant. The momentary severe pain was beyond Qin Xiao's tolerance. However, this pain came quickly and went away quickly. In just 2 or 3 seconds, all the pain in the body disappeared. Qin Xiao, who was already lying at the bottom of the bathtub, could not move his whole body. But every nerve in his body began to beat wildly spontaneously. Every part of his body began to twitch constantly, and it looked like he had epilepsy. After the twitching, the body began to itch. Qin Xiao could feel that he was slowly regaining control of his body. The bone marrow, muscles and internal organs in his body were reorganizing and reorganizing. Itchy, the itching of countless bugs crawling in your body, in your blood vessels, and in your bones. It was more unbearable than the pain just now. Qin Xiao opened his mouth and let out an unknown cry. His body twisted irregularly, and his head banged wildly against the ceramic bathtub. Bang, bang. An ordinary bathtub couldn't stand his tossing, and he tore it apart in a few strokes. Fortunately, the hotel is high-end enough, and the sound insulation effect is beyond imagination. Otherwise, if Qin Xiao made such a sound, someone would have called the police long ago. The intense itching lasted for more than 5 minutes. Qin Xiao, with a look of despair, lay in a pile of ceramic fragments and filth flowing out of his body. In the last minute or so, almost all the blood and bone marrow in his body were emptied. Instead, it was the bone marrow and blood that the body remade after taking the Hulk serum. As the system said, the surface of the body did not look changed, but the explosive power contained in the muscles has far exceeded the scope of humans. Picking up a piece of ceramic fragments next to him, Qin Xiao took a breath and scratched his arm fiercely. It felt like an ordinary person's very rounded nails gently scratched it. There was an extremely faint tingling sensation on the skin. In addition, there was not even a white mark left on the skin. Instead, Qin Xiao used too much force and crushed the ceramic in his hand. "It looks good," Qin Xiao muttered, and then screamed wildly in his mind, "System, come out! Is this the slight pain you mentioned, for a real iron-blooded man?" "Yes." The system's unhurried voice sounded in Qin Xiao's mind. Qin Xiao almost choked to death by this sentence. "Okay, I can't afford to offend you. I won't argue with something that is not human." After complaining fiercely, looking at the mess on his body, Qin Xiao reached out and gently turned on the water outlet switch, wanting to wash off the filth on his body. Although he tried to touch the switch as gently as possible, but he still flipped the metal switch off in an instant. "Don't be so exaggerated, right?" Qin Xiao smiled bitterly, holding on to a piece of the bathtub surface that was still intact and trying to stand up. As a result, before he could exert any force, the only intact piece of ceramic was directly shattered. "Alas, it seems that I have to adapt carefully for a while, since it has become like this." Qin Xiao simply twisted the water pipe at the switch violently, let the two cold and hot water jets rush towards him. He found an extra benefit. The cold water is easy to say, it is just autumn now, but the hot water is boiling hot water at a temperature of 100 degrees. It sprayed on his body, but Qin Xiao didn't feel the slightest burn. He just felt a little warm. It seems that not only the defense, but also the resistance to high and low temperatures has improved a lot. Invulnerable to swords and guns, water and fire. This is what it means. Qin Xiao happily washed his body. He hid in the hotel for several days. Even when he ate, he asked the hotel staff to open the door and bring him in. There is no way. He broke everything he touched. Every time after eating, he looked at the table where that was mostly destroyed and could not be seen in its original form. If Qin Xiao hadn't asked someone to use his credit card to swipe a considerable deposit, I'm afraid the hotel would have kicked him out directly. It took Qin Xiao 5 full days to learn how to control the surging power in his body. He ignored the hotel staff's look of astonishment, paid the money and checked out, and boarded the plane to Los Angeles. Obadiah was still being secretly monitored by S.H.I.E.L.D., and he had not yet discussed the whole matter with Tony. This was Qin Xiao's mission, and Qin Xiao had to come forward to solve the problem of points. Chapter 25, Second Generation Arc Reactor. Los Angeles, Malibu Beach. Tony Stark only showed up in front of reporters after he came back and announced that Stark Industries would no longer manufacture weapons. He hid in the laboratory alone, except for Pepper, who came to report every day. He did not see anyone. He hid away and developed the armor he had envisioned. The drawings designed in Afghanistan have been brought back and entered into the computer. At this moment, in front of Tony, there was a three-dimensional projection, which was exactly the appearance of Mark I that he built in the cave with existing resources. "Jarvis, remove the shell. The core technology remains unchanged, and repackage the newly designed shell." "Yes, sir." As Jarvis' voice sounded, the three-dimensional projection in front of Tony began to rotate. The outer armor parts scattered and disappeared. Then more images of armor parts appeared out of thin air. Around the arc reactor in the middle, they were installed one by one in an orderly manner. The modeling of Mark II was basically completed. "How is it, Jarvis?" Tony stretched out his hand to rotate the projection, and looked at it carefully from front to back. "I have to say, sir, your work is beyond the times. I've always been ahead of the times. Jarvis, help me place an order. I need them to send the first batch of materials as soon as possible." After finishing the initial appearance of the armor, Tony Stark picked up another launcher on the table. In his imagination, this launcher can be used as a power system and as a laser cannon as a conventional weapon. "It seems that I have to replace the reactor immediately," The current speed is too low and can't keep up with the consumption of the armor. Tony lowered his head and muttered, and took a brand new arc reactor on the table. Good afternoon, Mr. Qin. Mr. Stark is in the laboratory. I will notify him immediately that you are here. Tony originally gave Qin Xiao the right to enter the house, but it did not include the underground laboratory. The only two people who had the password and had the authority to enter from Jarvis were Pepper and Rhodes. But now, there is one more. Mr. Qin, Mr. Stark asked you to go down directly. The basement will be open to you in the future. The password at the door is 106. This password is real. I specially watched the part where Pepper Potts entered the basement in Iron Man 1. When Qin Xiao entered the basement, he happened to see Pepper Potts put her hand into Tony Stark's chest and pulled out a wet copper wire from it. I have to say, it looks quite disgusting and scary. There is a hole in the chest, and someone puts a person in it. Oh, damn, what did I see? Is this your new posture? Tony, you have entered women's bodies too many times before, and now it's women entering your body? Hey, Qin, I don't remember you being so slick. Pepper Potts was horrified when she did this, but after Qin Xiao's teasing, she recovered immediately. That's because you don't know him well enough. Pepper, you'll know later. Compared to him, I'm as honest as a cow on your uncle's farm. Tony asked Pepper to insert the wire of the new reactor base into his chest, and then walked towards Qin Xiao. Tony, are you going to stay like this? I mean, you don't plan to find a doctor to treat yourself thoroughly? Take out the shrapnel or something. Qin Xiao pointed at Tony's chest. To be honest, the night light on your chest is actually pretty cool, but you've stuffed such a big thing into your body. Talking about the reactor in his chest, Tony rarely became serious. I won't take it out. This thing saved me. I'm not just talking about my life. It determines what kind of person I should be in the future. I have to keep it to remind myself. Tony, what should I do with this old one? Pepper is still Tony's personal assistant. Seeing Qin Xiao coming to Tony, she was preparing to go to the basement and asked Tony how to deal with the old reactor. Destroy it. Burn it. You know I have many characteristics, but nostalgia is definitely not one of them. Okay. Pepper went upstairs with the reactor. Qin Xiao knew that she would seal the old one in a transparent cover and give it to Tony as a gift. And when Obadiah snatched the reactor from Tony's chest, it was this old one that saved Tony's life at the critical moment. But now there is another Qin Xiao in this world, and this plot should be avoided. Besides, Qin Xiao came here this time to solve this matter. Hey, Tony, don't you have anything to ask me about Afghanistan? Qin Xiao spoke first after watching Pepper go upstairs. Even if we don't consider the system and the task, the two sides have known each other for so long. From a personal point of view, the two sides have indeed become friends. In addition to the secrets of the system and the crossing, Qin Xiao did not intend to hide everything from Tony, which would create some estrangement between the two. A man came to see me a few days ago. He was from an intelligence department with a long and ugly name. What was his name? Anyway, he was an agent with a very touching hairline. Tony gestured at his forehead and described the appearance of the man. He told me everything about you, the death of your parents, how your serum came from, how you met that sexy agent chick, etc. He also said that you joined them to save me, but I won't thank you, because you deceived me. Your energy comes from the serum of super soldiers, not some Chinese kung fu. Damn, I even paid more than a month's salary. Tony took out 2 bottles of beer from the refrigerator and handed one to Qin Xiao. Tony Stark, don't expect to hear thank you easily from him. But Qin Xiao knew that although he was talking about the things he deceived him, his eyes were full of gratitude. Otherwise, why would he give him the password to the basement today? Well, actually you didn't lose anything. You even won millions of dollars in the casino. All because of me. That agent with a touching hairline told you so much, Qin Xiao said, and the image of the good old man Agent Coulson appeared in his mind. Huh? Tony asked doubtfully after taking a sip of beer. Did you, bastard, deceive me about something else? That's not the case. It seems that he definitely didn't tell you clearly how I found the secret cave that the US military spent more than a month trying to find. Oh, Tony seemed to have thought of something. He raised his head slightly and motioned Qin Xiao to continue. Yesterday someone asked me if I had any manuscripts saved and how many chapters to update. I'm working hard on saving manuscripts these days. I update 3 chapters a day normally. After the 100,000 word website recommends it, I will work hard to burst out a wave. The first chapter is here, and there will be more at noon and in the evening. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.